A tale of brotherhood as I start this hour. I met a man along the road, a very heavy burden he was carrying. Yet he seemed not to be weighed down by the heavy load on his back. In fact, he had a happy smile on his face. His burden seemed to be a joy. Is not the heavy load you are carrying burdensome? I did ask. Without a moment of hesitation came this reply. The lad on my back? No, sir. He is not heavy. You see, sir, he is my brother. Good evening, friend. You're talking to Bernard Meltzer. Welcome. Hello?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a problem that's been upsetting me for over 2 years now, and I could use some good advice.
All right, talk to Uncle Bernard.
Okay, Uncle. About 2 years ago, I had open heart surgery, and my hospital bill was over $72,000.
$72,000?
Yes. I had medical insurance for almost 2 years prior to my becoming ill. After I was released from the hospital, I started getting bills, and I was referring them to my insurance company. And I was told that I had a pre-existing illness of hypertension that the hospital was looking into, and if they found any evidence of hypertension, they would not pay my bills.
You mean the insurance company would not pay your bills?
The insurance wouldn't pay. As it turned out, I got a lawyer, and that's when the problems started.
What happened?
Well, we had several depositions, and on discovery, it seems that my lawyer turned against me.
Why?
I wasn't aware of it at the time.
What did he do?
Well, he started digging into hospitals, illnesses, very trivial things that happened as far back as 20 years ago.
Well, why would your lawyer turn against you?
I don't know. I couldn't understand why.
All right, go ahead.
And it was noted that about 15 years ago, I did have a hysterectomy, and I had hypertension at that time. About 9 years ago, I had a kidney stone. I had hypertension at that time.
Yep.
In between that, I had not seen any doctors for any hypertension or any serious illness.
Okay, now you're convinced me. So your question is what, my friend?
Well, right now, he worked on a contingency.
Right.
Okay? And at the settlement with the insurance company, they said they would give me back a small portion of my premium and drop myself and my family. He gave us back something like $4,000. Out of that, the attorney decided to take about $2,500 for all the court costs, deposition fees, and so forth, which I don't feel he was entitled to under a contingency. What I would like to know is, can I sue this attorney?
On what basis?
Well, on the fact that I don't think he was my attorney.
Well, first of all, by the way...
He didn't work for me.
No, wait a while. First of all, on the $4,000, you had to prove it. Your attorney could not settle on $4,000 unless you approved it.
Well, he actually forced me to approve it. He refused to go to court.
Did he take a shotgun and put it at your head?
No. All he said was that he sent me a letter stating that he was resigning as my attorney.
Right. In other words, he became convinced that there was something to this pre-existing condition, number one, or he just decided it wasn't worthwhile fighting. Understand? Because he was.
I have a $72,000 lien on my property that's really setting me back for a loop.
You see, the question is, how do you sue a lawyer? In other words, to sue a lawyer, you can't sue him for bad judgment. You can't sue him for the fact that the case did not come out right. You can only sue him if you can show professional negligence. Now, where's the professional negligence here?
Well, I feel that he wasn't supposed to defend me in court. He declined to even assist me in court. He told me that he was making deals. I didn't know what was going on. All he used to do was call me and say, okay, I spoke to the hospital, and the hospital said they want X amount of dollars now. I spoke to the insurance company, and they're willing to give you X amount of dollars now, period. Never informed me as to what was going on until...
That's not the basis of a lawsuit.
Pardon me?
That is not the basis of a lawsuit. And the fact that your attorney started investigating by discovery conditions that existed prior shows the fact that he was doing his job, and he became convinced that maybe there was some merit to the insurance company's claim.
Well,
But also, I'll tell you
90%
probably
of-
what happened if you want my opinion.
Yes.
And this is not the basis of a lawsuit either. Attorneys, by the way, human beings, have to live and make money.
Right.
When he took the case on a contingency basis, he thought there was merit to the case. It would be easy to get, say, 1/3 of $72,000. However, as he got into it, he realized it was
No,
difficult.
$72,000 was just my hospital bills. Those were the costs of my bills. That did not include his fee.
Yeah, but that doesn't change my opinion, friend. Well, I'm telling you, as he got into it, he decided that it wasn't worthwhile pursuing on a contingency basis, and he settled as best he could. And now you signed off. This check came in a double signature. You endorsed it. You got your money. And I tell you one thing, if you want to sue your attorney, anybody can sue anybody else in this country, but you're not going to get any attorney to take it without a tremendous amount of money up front.
Yes, I
Tremendous amount of money. I'm not talking about 1,000 or 2,000. And even then, you might not get an attorney because attorneys are reluctant to sue one another.
Yes,
You know that.
I realize that now.
So I sit here in the studio. I sympathize what happened to you. I think it's terrible. I also don't like the American system of medicine when it comes to what I call catastrophe illnesses. It bankrupts a person like you. It's unfair. It would not have happened in any other Western country. If you called me, I would have said, get on a plane and fly to Sweden or fly to Germany.
Well,
You wouldn't have any bill at all.
Yeah, I was legally dead when this happened. I had had a heart attack.
I'm just telling you, there's something wrong. Why you ran up bills like that it just doesn't make sense. You save and work all your life, and then you get busted in one little incident.
That's right.
There's something wrong with the way things are going.
Now I'm uninsurable, so there isn't any insurance company in the world that would take me.
I know that, and also you have. I would love to tell you that you have the basis of a lawsuit, but you don't. You don't. You'll only. If you had $100,000, you still probably would lose going after the attorney.
Oh my. Okay, sir. I thank you very much for your time.
I am reluctant to give you that opinion, but you want the right answer. You want a frank answer. You want no gobbledygook, and that's the way the ball bounces. I am Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet. Yes, our toll-free number is 1-800-223-4141. And I welcome you to the program that brings you the wisdom that does come from extensive life experience. And you're listening to Bernard Meltzer on Talknet. Good evening, friend.
Good evening, Doctor. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
I just have a small problem.
What's that?
We were shopping at the local supermarket, and my car was struck with one of the shopping carts. My wife and I went into the shopping, and my son stayed in the car. And before he could get out, this shopping cart struck the side of the car.
From your shopping cart or somebody else's?
Well, somebody else's, but nobody was there because the winds were about 35 miles an hour, and it was people just leave them at the top of the by the store there.
Right.
And it sloped down where the shopping area is. They're sloped down.
Right.
And then the manager took down all the information, and he submitted that to his insurance. And we got a reply from the insurance company saying that they weren't responsible. Now,
how much is the damage?
It's only a small thing. It's only $146 of, I got an estimate for that.
All right. Now you want Uncle Bernard to help you solve the problem?
Sure.
All right. Will you listen?
Yes, sir.
See, normally what the insurance company said is true. They're not responsible on a private parking lot like that's used by the public. But this is a little bit different.
Sure.
The reason, all right, listen.
Yes, sir.
Listen. Yep. And the reason why you can get away with this is because when the wind is 35 miles an hour, it's negligent for the management of that supermarket to leave their cars unattended and flying around the lot.
Sure.
So that's why you probably can collect if you take them to small claims court.
Yes.
Don't care what the insurance company says. You go to small claims court and file a complaint against the supermarket.
Against the supermarket? Any individual, the manager?
No, against the supermarket.
Just the supermarket's name?
That's right. And
sure.
Based upon this fact, that there was a very heavy wind, 35 miles an hour, and they very negligently let the car stay on the lot unattended, and therefore the wind was knocking them around and knocked it into your car. That's your case.
Doctor, that's what I wrote them a letter, and I said if they don't respond within 3 weeks or so, like I've heard you mention that, and
so they did.
They haven't, and it's about a month now.
So they didn't respond.
No, they didn't.
They go on a theory that if they don't respond, most people drop out. So the answer to your question is take them to small claims court, and I gave you the reasoning why.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
Bye-bye. I call this the progression of life. Your yesterday is gone. It's now part of the story of your life. Your tomorrow is still only a vision of hope, provided the good Lord gives you another day of life. But your today is yours. It's here. It's your chance to make someone happy. It's your chance to do a good deed. So you will have no regrets if tomorrow you do not see. Good evening. You're listening to Bernard Meltzer. Welcome aboard, friend.
Dr. Meltzer.
Yes, friend.
I have a son who is a paranoid schizophrenic. He spends money.
How old?
He's 40.
Married?
No, he's a disabled veteran.
Okay.
He gets a good pension.
Yep.
We are concerned that if anything should happen to my husband and myself, there would be no one to take care of him financially.
Right. Are you taking care of him financially now?
No. He gets a pension or whatever you call it from the government.
And he spends it as he sees fit.
And he spends it not wisely. He has underwear galore. He buys things he never uses. Many things in the drawer. I've been thinking about declaring him incompetent for about 15 years. And
Why? Why do you want to declare him incompetent?
Because he doesn't have any money to take care of himself.
Well, that's not a basis being declared incompetent, honey. In other words, when you have that boy declared incompetent, first of all, you're not going to be able to do it because you don't like what he's doing. You're going to have to get medical testimony to declare him incompetent, number one. Number two, once he's declared incompetent, you make him a second-rate citizen.
What do you mean by that?
You take away most of his rights. Now, why do you want to do it? Just because he's eccentric?
No, I mean, who's going to take care of him whenever I die?
Who's taking care of him now?
Well, he lives at home.
In that case, you'll make arrangements for him to be lived in some institution. It'll be whatever else happens. But declaring him incompetent is not the solution.
It's not the solution.
Of course not. You are going to murder that kid when you do that.
That's what I wanted to find out. Because, see, we are very close. I couldn't do it.
Okay, if you want to set up some arrangement, he's now why don't you put him back in a veteran's home?
Oh, no, he doesn't want to.
No, I say when he gets to be that he can't take care of himself.
Uh-huh.
Right now, and even then, you can't voluntarily sign him in, even if he can't take care of himself, unless he becomes violent and threatening to life or property.
I see.
So, Mama, you're trying to do something which you should not do.
All right, Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. My friend, you're listening to Bernard Meltzer, and you're also at the same time listening to Talknet. Good evening, friend. Hello.
Dr. Meltzer?
Yes, friend.
Yes, my problem is one of a legal nature. It's concerning my divorce. I was divorced about a year ago after 15 years of marriage. There wasn't very much property. We just had a house, and there were 3 minor kids. So I got custody of the 3 children. The judge awarded me child support and also, the house for me and the children to live in.
Right.
Now, he also awarded me lump sum alimony, which was my husband's equity in the house.
Okay.
Giving the house to me totally.
Right.
All of this is clearly stated, in the divorce decree. Okay,
Right.
so I thought the house was mine. Then about 2 months ago, I go to try and get a second mortgage loan. Then the bank told me that the loan couldn't go through unless, I had my ex-husband's signature on it, and I tried to...
Because I could have told you that way back at the beginning.
Okay.
In other words, your attorney, were you supposed to get the house? No, you got the equity in the house.
What does that mean?
That means half the value of the house you got as lump sum alimony. So right now, it's in both names, husband and wife, and there's no way of getting his name off without him either doing it voluntarily or you buying him out or going to court to have it partitioned. You understand what I just said, friend?
I understand it. So what does that give me? The judge giving me his equity. So you're saying...
Well, you see, how long ago did this happen?
This happened about a year ago when the divorce went through.
So therefore, you had an attorney, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Why didn't he explain it to you?
This is my problem. I feel that, my legal attorney was not really up to par because when I went back to him, he more or less told me the same thing you're telling me now, which I should have been told that 1 year ago.
Well, but the very fact that you weren't told 1 year ago does not in any way mean that you can upset it. It's now water over the dam, sweetheart. You made a settlement, you signed off, and he signed off. And all I can say is I'm Bernard Meltzer, this is Talknet.
.980 WRC.
Hey, good evening, my friend. You're listening to Bernard Meltzer on Talknet. Our phone number, toll-free, coast to coast, 1-800-223-4141. Good evening, friend.
Bernard?
Yes.
I'd like to have a little advice this evening.
Thank you.
First of all, I'll give you some background on me. I'm from the Midwest, 51 years old and married. Been unemployed for 5 months. I have $158,000 in savings, and I owe $14,000 on about a $65,000 house, and I have $85,000 worth of universal life insurance.
Right.
My question is, how well off am I for my age group, first of all?
For your age group, you are way ahead, above the average and above the median. Way ahead.
Good.
By the way, what do you do for a living?
Meat cutter.
Okay, go ahead.
And I wanted to know if insurance, universal life insurance policy, if that's a good place to put some investment.
Why? I have a question. Children?
Most of them are gone from home.
In other words, married.
Right.
So what are you trying to protect? Why are you buying universal life insurance?
Well, I know it's...
Are you buying it for the investment angle, or are you
Right.
buying it because you want to protect somebody?
Both.
Who are you protecting?
My wife.
Well, of course, if you want to... You are what? You are now 51 years of age.
Right.
If you want to protect your wife, and you want to get a couple $100,000 of insurance for maybe less than $100 a month, buy a 5-year term.
Okay, but this universal life, if I put savings in there, if I invest in that, I'm drawing 9% interest on it.
No, you're not.
Pardon?
No, you're not. You are drawing 9% interest this year. But there's
Right.
no
It's
guarantee
variable rate.
you'll draw 9% interest next year.
That's very true. It's a variable rate.
In other words, if you read your policy or what they want to give you, what's the low point on it?
4%.
Okay, now, so you're not drawing 9%.
Well, I am at the present.
1 year.
Right.
1 year is not a 9% investment. Go ahead.
Okay. I want to know, I've got a $30,000 CD that's coming that is due, and I want to know where a good place to invest that.
My good friend, you're unemployed right now, correct?
Right.
You have $158,000. You are in good financial shape in case the boat starts to sink. What do you want to do? You now want to take it out of something that is conservative, liquid, and right now you don't know where you're going and you want to start making investments that carry elements of risk? Is that what you want to do?
No, I don't want to risk it. I want it pretty solid.
So what do you want to put it in?
Well, CDs right now are very low rate. And
Good.
I wondered if you had any ideas on something that was...
Yes, I have an idea how you can make a lot of money if you take risk. Take all your money down to Atlantic City or Las Vegas.
Sure.
You'll double it overnight. Or you'll end up in a poorhouse, either way.
Right.
Or you want to make a good return? Go out and buy junk bonds. You can get 12%, 12.5%. Many people buy junk bonds and don't even know they're buying junk bonds. So in other words, the rate of interest is directly tied in with liquidity and risk. Right now, you are absolutely safe and you're liquid. So I'm going to say to you, your priorities right now is to get yourself straightened out from the standpoint of lifestyle and a job. That's priority number one. Priority number one is not to take that money at this point and try to get a higher return, because you don't know where you're going. You don't know how long you're going to be out of a job. You don't know whether you're going to end up from the Midwest to the West Coast or the East Coast or where you're going. So until you know where you're going and straighten yourself out, get your priorities straightened out. Right now, your priority is to mark time investment-wise, put it to safe, liquid, and then try to solve your personal problem. Once you solve that, let's talk about investments.
Okay.
Hear what I just said?
Yeah, I know what you just said. In other words, right back into a CD.
Exactly, because your investment problem is a lot more than interest rates, dollars and cents, because, as I said very often, I do have the education background and facts and knowledge, but also I do have wisdom that comes from life experience. That's why I gave you the answer I gave you. You understand?
Well, yeah, I appreciate your answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. I am Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet. You are listening to Bernard Meltzer on Talknet, number one in talk. Hey, good evening. Welcome, friend.
Dr. Meltzer?
Yes, my friend.
Oh, I'm so glad you took my call. Thank you. I'm sure I'll be able to sleep this evening.
Thank you very much.
All right. On December 1st, I was rear-ended. The man...
Wait, it doesn't sound so good. What you're saying is you were hit in the back by an automobile.
Right.
While driving.
The man that was driving the other...
Never use that term again. Because that's not a ladylike term. I'm warning you now.
Okay.
Because you ask people to get around, rear-ended has an entirely different meaning.
Oh, really?
It does.
Oh, well,
a very,
I didn't know
very
that.
Nasty meaning. You
hear
that?
I didn't know that.
And don't tell your minister you were rear-ended.
Okay.
Because they'll throw you out of the church.
Well, that's the term that the policemen use.
Well, I don't care.
Well, in any case, the man that was driving the car was using a rental car.
Right.
The next day, I was taken to the hospital. And the next day when I got out, I called my insurance company.
Right.
I took my car over to my garage mechanics and left it there. And my insurance company sent an estimator over there to take pictures.
Right.
I happened to have been there when he was there.
Right.
He said the damage was slight, about $174.
Okay.
I took the car to a body shop. Yep. I had my car painted there a few years before. That's why I chose this body shop. When I was there, I also had the police report with me, and I showed it to the man. He said, "You need a lawyer." Within 10 minutes, he had me at a lawyer's office. The lawyer's father picked me up. I was signing papers saying that whatever he got, he would get a third of.
So what happened?
The car, I then got a rental car. Then he said to me that I should not go through my insurance company to have it repaired because I'd have to pay the deductible.
The lawyer told you that?
No, the man at the body shop. So he said he would find out who the car rental agency used as a claims company. He called them up, and by the time the claims company from the man who hit me, the rental car place, came, they took pictures again, but the damage between the first set of pictures and these set of pictures is like $600 difference.
Why?
Because he damaged the car. I saw the car.
Honey, I don't understand. How old are you?
I'm old.
How old?
60.
I will tell you, you're acting like a 16-year-old teenager. Here's something where the total damage was only $174.
Right.
And you let yourself be talked into going to an...
Dr. Meltzer,
yeah.
The difference in the car was that the car, instead of the fender or the bumper being just dented, it was into the trunk. There was like a big, tremendous something dropped.
All right, so
on
therefore
the
you
trunk.
called me for one reason. What would you like me to tell you, friend?
What do I do about this? There are two sets of pictures showing different types of damage. He fixed my car.
Who has these pictures?
The two different estimators.
And therefore you are in trouble.
Yes.
Who has the pictures for the 174?
My insurance company's estimator.
And who has the pictures for the 600?
The rental car's estimator. And the car...
As far as you're concerned, did you fix it?
No, the car, the lights don't work, the gauges on the panel in front don't work, the steering wheel feels like it's going to fall off.
Therefore, the damage is more than 600. What is the damage?
But I drove the car after the accident for about 5 days. The car was fine.
Honey, what is the damage? How much? It sounds to me as if you've got a set-up case where the body shop damaged the car.
Yes.
To run up the
Yes.
money.
Yes.
And of course, this is a criminal act, but you probably can't prove it.
Well, what about my son saw the car with the second damage on it. The garage mechanic saw it with the original damage.
Honey, by the way, there's an attorney involved in this. Where's he coming in this thing?
The attorney was an attorney that the body shop...
What is he doing now, the
he
attorney?
Quit. He wants no part of it because
Of course, this is a criminal act was performed here. The attorney could lose his license to practice.
What do I do?
I don't know what to do except to say you better go see the lawyer who will put the fear of God into this body shop because you're dealing with a first-class crook. And when I cannot tell you how to deal with a first-class crook right here. You got yourself into a situation where it's hard to believe. Go over and get to see a lawyer in a hurry. Not the lawyer that signed you up, but a lawyer who will now represent you and not represent the body shop. That's all I can tell you.
My son wants me to call the insurance fraud division.
Before you do it, honey, you better go see a lawyer because I'm telling you, you're dealing with a first-class crook and you may get yourself into all kind of crazy situations. You may find yourself being sued for $1 million and so on. Please get yourself an attorney to guide you, and you may find yourself in jeopardy physically. How do I know about this? I've known many cases of these some body shops, and there are very few of them. But when you run into a first-class crook, you've got to watch out. Get to see a lawyer. You'll need the protection.
They want me to take the car back to him to be fixed.
Honey, I told you to go see a lawyer.
All right. I will.
Thank you. I'm Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet. Yes, I'm Bernard Meltzer saying if you know someone who boasts that they've never made a mistake or make very few mistakes, chances are they've never done much of anything or not doing much of anything, because the price of doing things is to make mistakes, because that's how you learn how not to make mistakes. Good evening, friend. Welcome. Are you there?
Hello.
Welcome aboard.
Hello.
Yeah.
No.
Hello.
Hello.
It's, I'm Bernard Meltzer. Would you like to talk to me?
Yes.
All right.
Are you there?
Of course I'm there.
Well, gracious,
If I wasn't there, I'd be fired from the job.
I wasn't sure if we were communicating or not.
All right.
We are, right?
We are.
Okay. I have two, and I'm not going to take a lot of your time, about three things to say. Number one, I've listened to you for a long time, and I thank you very much because you've taught me a lot.
Thank you.
By the way that you have given advice to other people, it's been very, very helpful to me, okay? And I want you to know that.
Right.
Now, I have two questions. Now, my first question is, I am a clinical psychologist, okay?
You are a clinical psychologist.
Right. And I've been called to be an expert witness. Now, I know with all your experience, you know what this all entails, and I thought you could give me some helpful background on this. I was wanting to know, really, as an expert witness, what kind of preparation does a person have to do? What should I expect to be my role?
Well,
what
on a clinical, all right, let me, okay, let me answer you, okay?
Okay.
I've been an expert witness during my lifetime on hundreds of occasions.
I knew that. See, this is why I'm calling you.
Now, an expert witness must qualify. You are going to testify as an expert witness in the field of psychology?
Right.
Therefore, the first requirement is to qualify.
Right.
Based upon background, education, and experience.
Right, which there's no question I can do that.
The next thing is to get the facts straight in the case.
Right.
But as an expert witness, you're allowed to give opinions based upon your fact and knowledge, not necessarily based upon what you saw. Here's what I'm trying to say. Let's say a murder case is taking place. A witness cannot testify that John shot Mary unless he saw John pull the gun, the trigger. Understand?
Okay, I got you.
But an expert witness can say John shot Mary because as an expert witness, I examined the clothing and I found powder stains. I did this and I did that. From that, I come to the conclusion. That John shot Mary.
Okay.
You're in the same way.
Yes, I'm following you. I follow you.
You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Because they might ask you, do you think XYZ is violent?
Right.
Can become violent. And you would give an answer based upon your background, experience, and your examination and analysis of the facts.
I follow you completely.
I'm ready. Question number 2. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Well, what's question number 2?
Number 2. So I was wondering, I said, what is the role of the expert witness?
What you haven't asked me is how much does an expert witness get paid?
How much does he get?
That's a good question. Expert witnesses get anywhere from $100 a day to $10,000 a day. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. Where do you fit in?
I guess you have to figure it upon your credentials, right?
In other words, how good you are and how you can accomplish results. For example, I was an expert witness on many occasions what I'll call land damage cases. Where, let's say, you had a factory building.
Right.
And the factory building was condemned and taken away by government, whatever reason why.
Right.
Say to build a highway. The government appraiser thought the property might be worth $100,000. I thought it might be worth $1 million.
Right.
So therefore, we now have a court case, and a jury hears the evidence. Now, if I thought But it was a very difficult problem that Bernard Meltzer was one of the few people that could solve it.
Yeah.
Also, the ability to testify and explain it to the jury. I might ask $1,000 a day.
Right.
Or $2,000 a day.
Right.
On the other hand, if I felt I couldn't do very much, they would say, too high. We'll get somebody else.
Yeah, right.
For example, in medical malpractice cases, where you have to get a doctor to testify against the doctor. In other words, doctor again. It's not unusual for doctors to get $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000 a day. That's why these cases get so expensive.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah. Right. I'll follow you exactly. You've given me exactly what I need.
Good.
Fantastic.
Have a good day. A good night. I am Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet. This comes from my collection to guide your life. And I tell you right now, the more you leave to chance, the less chance you have of making it. Good evening, friend. You are on Talknet, and I am Bernard Meltzer. Welcome.
Hi, Dr. Meltzer.
Yes, friend.
That girl that answered the phone, she's very nice. She's very polite.
Oh, yes, and the girl that's on the engineering desk is very nice, too. In fact, all we have here is nice people, except for Bernard Meltzer. He's not the only one that's not nice.
Oh, I like you.
Oh, you do?
If you wasn't married...
Are you sure you're not making a mistake?
I'm positive. If you wasn't married, you could put your shoes under my bed. I'm a widow, and I would feel flattered, but I know you got Philip.
Thank you. What can I do for you?
Dr. Meltzer, can a person be fired if they report terrible working conditions? For one thing, I work in a processing plant.
Yep.
And, to keep the I better not mention the product. I don't know, maybe I already did.
That's all right.
To keep the product white, we use a solution called, you seem to be a chemist and everything. It's called sodium metabisulfite.
Sodium bisulfite. Go ahead.
It's sodium metabisulfite. Okay.
Go ahead, I'm listening. I start this hour with a tale of brotherhood, a tale of true love. Two men of God came to town to do God's work. The first, a mighty preacher was he. He raised his tent, and acres it covered. The clouds flocked in, uncounted thousands sat in awe. And when he spoke, it was like thunder crashing in from on high. Spare us. The shouts rang out, we will repent. And the temples of marble and steel and glass rose high into the sky to proclaim the glory of God. And a smile on the preacher's face gave ample evidence that he thought he was doing God's work. The second man of God was hardly noticed when he came to town. With open hand and open face, he greeted the friendless. He helped feed the poor. He helped heal the sick. A lost child he led back to his home. He comforted the aged and the lonely. No mighty preacher was he. His voice was kind, but hardly audible. No temples rose to proclaim his glory. And when his work was done, he moved on to the next town. He left behind no mighty temples or churches, just some people a little happier. But the question that I asked as I start this hour is, which of these two men of God would you say better achieved God's glory? Good evening, friend. You're listening to Bernard Meltzer. Welcome aboard.
Hello, Doctor.
Welcome.
Nice to hear from you, and I always try to catch you. I have a rental problem. I went to pick up my rent for this month, and the renter told me that he refused to pay his rent because he wanted the front porch enclosed with heavy plastic.
Right.
And I didn't confirm at that point, but the next day I came back and served him with notification that he was overdue with his rent, and if he didn't pay it in 3 days, he would receive a notice to quit. And then he had another 3 days before he had to get out.
Okay.
He went to the local Fair Housing Authority, and this fellow there called me up, and tried to arbitrate this situation. He wanted to know what the renter had to do and what what I had to do in order to resolve this problem before it would get drug into court.
Right.
So I presented a list of things that I wanted. The guy had an animal in the house, while in the contract specifically stated no animals. And let's see, what else?
But of course, where did it go? In other words, the question you're asking me, can you get him out?
Well, my question is, the housing authority said that after I gave him notification to quit, he had 30 days to get out. While in the contract,
yeah, that's true, because he has a 30-day oral lease, whether you know it or not.
Well, what about the contract that he signed? It was there in black and white. He signed it.
He signed what?
He signed a 1 year's lease specifying in the contract.
He did have a 1 year written lease?
Yeah, 1 year.
Okay, go ahead.
And like I said, 3 days notification on rent past due, and if he failed to pay that, then I issued him a notice to quit in the fact that he had 3 days.
Okay, listen to Uncle Bernard now.
Okay.
You are not the court. You have a right to send him a letter saying get out in 3 days. You have a right to do it, but that doesn't mean he has to get out.
It doesn't?
No. Because to get out, you now have, in other words, if he violates your 3-day notice,
yeah,
you then have to go to court and get an order from the court. In other words, he has a day in court.
Okay.
And you'll find in winter, in other words, what state are you calling from?
I'm calling from Nebraska, but
Nebraska, you'll find
Iowa.
one thing. This is the year 1987, not the year 1917 or 07. And courts don't issue an order, kind of eviction order that you're saying. They'll give the men time to find a new place, or the housing authority may come in and defend him, and you'll have all kind of problems on your hand.
Well, okay, that's fine, but that means this guy gets to live there 1 month rent-free.
Well, that happens. In fact, if you were a landlord in New York, very often in cases like yours, the tenant gets to live there a year rent-free. You understand?
Yeah, I understand, but I would think that there should be some remedy in the law for such a, shall we say, a skewing of the law.
Well, of course, the law now is tempered with mercy. I remember when I was a kid living here in New York City, walking down the streets, and the furniture was piled outside.
True.
On the sidewalk. And people were sitting in chairs. The kids were sitting in chairs, and the mother was crying. And the winter wind whistled around. But do you want to go back to that situation?
No, but I think there should be some middle ground somewhere.
And there is a middle ground. And the middle ground is a court. And it varies from state to state how easily or how difficult it is to enforce eviction. In many states, especially states with large cities, getting a tenant out is difficult. In rural areas, it's a lot easier.
Well, this is a metropolitan area.
Okay. So therefore, you see, the way you avoid this problem is you carefully select who you put in.
That's sometimes easier said than done.
No, it's not. In other words, a good managing agent, a good landlord, before he puts anybody into his apartment, draws a credit report on them and checks it out that way. Number two, gets an application from them showing where they bank, checks that out, where they've lived for the past 3 times, checks that out, and where they work, the last 3 jobs, checks that out, and by that time you know who you're getting. You didn't do that, did you? How did you get this tenant in?
Well, I checked with his last tenant.
The last landlord, you mean?
Yeah, last landlord, I should say.
And, of course, what happens very often when you do that, he's a terrible tenant. The landlord wants to get rid of him, and therefore the only way they can get rid of him is pass him on to somebody else. You're going to have to learn this.
Well, I've been renting this property for about 4 years, and this first time I've had any problems.
There's always a first time.
Yes, I know.
And let me tell you one thing. If you run into a wise guy, you'll find that you won't get him out for a long time. If he knows his way around the bureaucracy. And I've watched so-called, quote, wise guys who are very knowledgeable live rent-free for years. And you can't get them out. Thanks, friend.
Then I have just one other question. The rental agreement is up in another month and a half. Can I refuse to renew the agreement?
That you can. You can refuse to renew the agreement unless there's some kind of rent control or rent stabilization laws in your community.
There are none.
In that case, you can refuse to renew unless it's a spite situation. See, somebody knowing a lot about this will report you, for example, to the housing people. They come and make an inspection. They find things wrong. And then when you try to get them out, they go into court and they say, Your Honor, this landlord here is very unfair. Just because I exercised my rights as a citizen and I reported intolerable living conditions, he now wants to get me out on spite.
Mm-hmm.
And the court hears that and says, nope, nope, nope. Talk to Uncle Bernard. You'll learn a lot about the situation. Thanks. Let me remind you, two people cannot long remain friends or lovers if they cannot forgive, if they cannot overlook each other's failings, and each other's faults. And I want to remind you, I'm Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet. My friend, I welcome you to the program that solves problems with a touch of human kindness. Good evening, friend.
Hi.
Hiya.
How you doing?
Doing well.
Well, I don't really have a problem. I'm just calling to say that I enjoy your show very much.
Oh, thanks. Thank you very much.
And, you know, I'm only in the 5th grade, and I'm 11, and I listen to your show every night when I go to bed, and, you know, I really learn a lot from you.
Okay, let me tell you a little bit about yourself. A young man like you who listens to shows like this probably has a very high IQ. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Because if you didn't, you'd be doing things that are, let's say, like watching a football game, or worrying about how tall a basketball player is or something like that. But anyway, both are necessary, and also I'm proud of you and thank you for the nice things you said.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Well, can I ask if you're a sports fan?
Well, see, I used to be a very heavy sports fan. In fact, when I was your age, I knew the name of every baseball player in the major leagues and their batting average, where they were born, and a lot of other things. But as you grow older, professional sports, lose their attractiveness and also recede in the background, and a lot of other things take over. So I would say, yes, I'm a sports fan, but nowhere near the kind of sports fan I used to be.
Well, are you a Giants fan, like New York football?
Where are you calling from?
Massachusetts.
You a Giants fan?
Yes.
Do you think they're going to win tomorrow?
Definitely. I was going to ask you that.
Well, on the grounds that we have many friends from the New York area and the Washington, D.C. area, a lot of other things, I'll answer it this way. I hope the Giants win, but not by too much.
Yeah, well, the way they creamed the 49ers the other day, I think they're on the Super Bowl and the next Super Bowl and everything.
Uh-huh.
So I used to be a Patriots fan, but since they lost to Denver and Easton's out, so I guess I just...
All right, let me tell you what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do?
Basketball player.
How tall are you?
About 5 feet.
You know, to be a basketball player, you have to be a stretched out person.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you'll grow to be 7 feet tall?
Maybe 6.5.
How about 7.5?
Maybe.
Or how about 8 feet?
No.
Well, then you'll be a very good basketball player. Just stand there and drop the ball in.
Yeah? Well, then it'll be kind of hard if I want to get in a car. I'll have to drive one of those.
That's all right. You'll be able to afford a special car.
Yeah.
A limousine with a high roof.
I'll have to drive one of those big bulldozers so I can stick my head out.
Yeah.
Well,
do you know many basketball players, when they travel around, the hotel has to supply a special bed for them?
Why?
Because they're so tall, they can't sleep in an ordinary bed.
I know the answer to that.
What's that?
Just put two beds together and just have them lay down.
I can't. By the way, you are very smart.
Yeah. Well,
if you were not a basketball player when you grew up, what do you want to be?
Baseball.
If you were not a baseball player, what would you want to be?
A football quarterback.
You have your life figured out?
Well, what?
I'll tell you what you do. When you go to college, you major in athletics, okay?
Can I tell you which college I'm going to?
Yeah.
I'm going to Miami. I want to be like Vinny Testaverde.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Thank you. A prayer at eventide. The day will soon be done. The sun soon will be gone. The hills soon will be dark. And soon the stars will shine. So peacefully rest, secure in thy repose. For the Lord thy God is nigh. A beautiful thought. Good evening, friend. You are on Talknet.
Hello, Dr. Meltzer.
Yes, friend.
Thoroughly enjoy your program.
Thank you.
Have a question regarding a contract and what I consider to be a breach of contract.
What's that?
In the process of suing a company, I have found a couple of attorneys who agree to take it on a contingency basis.
Okay.
I'm curious about the contingency itself.
Yes.
Is 40% a legitimate figure coupled with a $2,000 to $4,000 figure on what they consider to be other expenses?
And what do you hope to collect?
Well, the lawsuit itself will probably be in the range of $750,000 to $1.5 million lawsuit.
Well, I will tell you, 40% on a lawsuit that size is much too much.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I just said?
I heard what you said. The indication is that you think that based on what they have said on the 40%, they don't think they can win it.
No. The reason why they're getting 40% is they're up against somebody like yourself who has nowhere else to go and doesn't know where to go.
Mm-hmm.
But a contingency fee, usually at the top of it, even in small cases, is 1/3.
Mm-hmm.
Something like you've got there is usually about 20-25%.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean it holds right across the country.
I see.
And another thing, it may be that you expect to get 60%. Don't be a bit surprised by the time this thing is all settled. It's the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
They've gotten their 40 plus 20% for expenses right off the top.
Well, the expenses they indicated will range between $2,000 and $4,000.
I can't know. Do you need expert witnesses?
Yes.
What kind of case is this? Medical?
No. It's a corporate breach involving a merchandising program.
So therefore, you need expert witnesses, a merchandising, economists, and accountants.
That's correct.
And if you get that for $2,000, I will tell you that you are being shortchanged.
Mm-hmm.
My estimate would be something like this: the expert witnesses will come away with $20,000 to $100,000.
Is that predicated on winning the case?
No, that's predicated on the fact of getting the right expert witnesses to win your case.
Well, if it's a contingency basis, though, I wouldn't be held accountable to that, would I?
No, it comes up. See, this is what's wrong here. Stay put, and I'll tell you exactly what's wrong with your case with the number you just gave me, but I must break now for commercials. I'm Bernard Meltzer, and I'll be back. I'm Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet. My friend, welcome to the program that solves problems with a touch of human kindness. Our phone number is 1-800-223-4141. May I have Sig, my gentleman, back?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, let's review this case. This gentleman has just retained some attorneys on a 40% contingency basis. The lawsuit runs somewhere way over $1 million to $2.5 million, right?
It'd be more like $1.5 million.
All right, over $1 million anyway.
Yes.
And the attorneys say to him, we will take 40%, and all we have to spend, let's say, expenses is $2,000 to $4,000.
Well, they did indicate the possibility of an outside range of $5,000.
Okay. Let me tell you now what's involved here. To give you another interpretation of that conversation.
Yes.
My radio family, listen carefully. At first, I'll teach by parable. I have a friend of mine who's a top malpractice attorney, medical malpractice, okay? And the very few cases that he takes, and the reason why he takes very few cases is as follows. He says unless he can see a recovery of $100,000 or more, he will not take the case. And I said to him, why? He said, I take it on a contingency basis. It's true. But I spend out of my own pocket to finance the case somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000 on each case. In other words, I get the best witnesses. I get the best investigator. I get the best analysis and everything else that I need. However, he says the reason why I don't take other cases is because you don't want to spend money out of your pocket if the recovery is not that great. So what has happened here, your attorneys who are supposed to finance this case probably are cutting it short. That's my interpretation based upon years of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because the case that you've got requires economists, without a doubt, requires expert accountants, and requires probably other witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
And witnesses in a case like this don't come cheap. They'll run somewhere between $500 to $1,000 a day.
Mm-hmm.
The good ones.
Yes.
And the ones that'll come in for $100 a day aren't worth their salt.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm giving a different interpretation on this fact that the attorneys don't want to spend the money for investigation and good witnesses, and therefore they're cutting it short and will settle probably for a much lower fee, damage fee, than you probably are ever thinking about.
I see.
That's my interpretation of this. Now, where do I get it? It's not based upon fact at all. It's based upon, let's say, I opened my book of life experience.
Well,
and I know what these suits involve.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm giving you my interpretation.
Well, I certainly value that.
Thank you.
And
yeah.
One final statement.
Sure.
Is it possible for two parties to arrive at a written agreement so that one party has such an overwhelming advantage that it may illegitimize the entire agreement?
Yes, it's possible, because the overwhelming advantage might be so overwhelming that the whole contract doesn't make sense.
Okay.
In other words, for example, if you and I drew up a contract where if you owed me money and I put a clause in that if you didn't pay me, I can sell you into slavery, I have a tremendous advantage over you.
Yes.
But I couldn't, but the contract couldn't be enforced.
Mm-hmm.
Understand?
I understand exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. I am Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet. If you want to be an executive, Bernard Meltzer is now going to give you rules of executive conduct. So those of you out there who would like to yearn and reach the level of an executive, listen carefully. These are the rules of executive conduct. When you're asked a question and you are not sure of the answer, you just mumble. That's rule number one. Rule number two is a little bit more important. When you don't know what to do, delegate the problem to somebody who does know what to do. But the third one is very important. When you are in real trouble, you get out of trouble by blaming someone else. Rules of executive conduct. Good evening, my friend. You are on Talknet.
Hello.
Welcome.
Yeah. How you doing, Bernard?
Okay.
Yeah, I had bought a property there. Be 4 years middle of this year, and there's a bunch of equipment left on it. And
in other words, now let's start out. Is this a home, a house, a factory, what?
No, it's like a lot.
In other words, you rented a lot.
No, I bought it.
You bought a lot.
Yeah. and he had this stuff stored on it.
And did he take it away?
No, he never took it away. It's been there be 4 years, the middle of this year.
And it's still stored on there?
Yeah, and contact him, by phone, and he's 2 weeks, and, for years.
Well, this is now 4 years.
It will be the middle of this year.
Did you talk to your attorney?
I talked to a couple, and they don't want to fool with it.
And they don't know the answer?
Well, I'm sure they do, but they don't want to get involved in it, I guess.
Why? Because you won't pay them?
Well, I've never been asked for any amount of money or anything by them.
You have a very simple problem, my friend. Very simple. All you do is sit down and send that fellow a certified or registered letter and say, hey, you left the items on my property. I'm giving you notice. Please remove it. And if you don't remove it, let's say in 1 month, I'll consider it abandoned property and dispose of it based upon the abandoned property doctrine. That's number one. Number two, if it has value, you can ship it off and have it stored where they charge a rental. And then if he doesn't pay, they'll put it up for sale. But the abandoned property doctrine is one that you should abide by. You got that?
Yeah.
You just gotten your answer. Thanks.
Okay.
Bye-bye. You are listening to Bernard Meltzer on Talknet, a number one talk show on the number one talk network. That's what it works out to. Good evening, my friend. You are on Talknet.
Hello, Dr. Meltzer. I wonder if you could throw on your experience to give me some advice on how to get along better with my mother-in-law.
What's wrong?
Well, I think the main problem is that whatever I say or my husband says, it's like she tries to get arguments going, either with us singly or with us against each other or about the children or...
A question, how long have you been married?
10 years.
How many children do you have?
4.
Do you live near Mama-in-law?
No.
How far away?
Far, like 1,000 miles.
1,000 miles. That's a nice distance.
Mm-hmm.
Next question is, how does your hubby feel about his mother doing all this?
If anything, I get along better with her than he does.
Okay. Yeah, but how does he feel when Mama starts all this? Does he take her side?
No.
Does he take your side? Does he do nothing?
Usually it's not in front of him. Like if she wants to start an argument about him, she'll ask him something really small. And then she'll come back to me and ask me the same question. And if the answers are any way different, I mean, like if he says we went out this morning to get a loaf of bread and I say we went out this morning to get a quart of milk, she says, well, he told me this, and this is, you know what I mean?
So why do you get yourself trapped that way? Why?
Well, I've tried saying to her, well, if you want to ask him that, wait till he comes back.
No. What you should do is you say, Mama, I love you. However, on the other hand, Mother, unless you behave yourself and stop these arguments going, I'll be forced not to communicate with you. You'll not be welcome unless you behave and stop generating fights between me and my husband. In other words, sometimes you got to lay down the law.
Well, I have trouble.
And Mama's pushing you around. And she's laughing up her sleeve.
I was brought up to be very respectful of the older generation.
Yes, you are respectful, but on the other hand, you can't let yourself be pushed around.
Uh-huh.
And I think what's happening here, Mama is lonely. Am I correct?
Is what?
Mama is lonely.
I don't know.
Well,
I never thought of her like that.
Many older people get so lonely that they start this for excitement.
Oh, gee, she's just in her late 50s. I don't consider her
In that
old.
case, she's probably having a lot of fun at your expense.
You think so?
And the answer is, if you'll get a bit stronger, she'll come around. She knows she can push you around, and she knows she can push her son around.
Well, he just ignores her most of the time.
Well, in that case, maybe you'll have to do that for a while.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Good evening, my friend. You're listening to Bernard Meltzer. Welcome aboard. Hello?
Yes, Dr. Meltzer.
Yes, my friend.
Yes, sir. Approximately 4 years ago, I purchased into a joint venture in commercial land, just a vacant commercial land lot.
How many people were involved?
Okay, there were approximately 8 of us. Approximately 6 of us.
And each one owns 1/6?
No, sir. It was divided up proportionally, but I own 12.5% of the property.
So you own 1/8?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and I also became trustee of the property. And then what happened was, after 3 years of paying on this property, I saw it was a dead end. We couldn't resell, and I've been promised by the broker that we'd probably be looking at a 14-month turnaround and resell. So I had to default.
Right.
So what I did was I hired an attorney to protect myself, and we made up mutual release agreements, and we had the other joint venture sign them. However, the person that held the note on the property never fully released me from it.
Of course, he doesn't have to.
Yes, sir.
Because
right.
First of all, you bought it as a partnership, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Now this is not a limited partnership. This is a regular partnership.
Right.
How come you did that? Because in a partnership, let me tell you, 6 people are involved. They can go after all 6. They can go after one of them for the whole debt, and to collect, he has to sue the other 5. In other words, what happens in these partnerships is as follows. If one of the 6 people involved has good credit, good assets, they will go after the person who has the good credits and good assets for all of it. That's the danger of a partnership. That's why these joint ventures, if the attorney knows what he's doing, he puts it into a limited partnership where your liability is limited. The answer is yes.
I'm sorry. You're basically saying that I just have open liability now.
You have open liability for the whole debt, and so does everybody else in that group.
Okay. Now, would it break down proportionally?
No.
Okay.
In other words, what I'm trying to say is, the fellow who holds the note, he can sue all 6, and he can go after you and say you owe 1/12. Somebody else will say you owe 1/4. Or he can do one other thing, which is usually done here. Again, I repeat, if there's 6 people involved and the debt is $100,000, he picks out the one that he's more likely to collect, and he sues him for $100,000 and collects it.
Okay.
Then he goes after the other 5.
Okay. Okay, myself personally, I don't have those kind of assets and money. What would be my potential liability?
What's the amount of the debt?
The amount is about approximately $92,000.
That's the potential liability that you face.
Yes, sir.
$92,000.
Yeah, that was a principal still owed when the remainder of the joint venture defaulted, which was 6 months after I defaulted.
Right. Therefore, you are liable potentially for the whole debt. That's bad, isn't it?
Yes, that's real bad.
Why didn't you call me before you got involved? Why did you believe the broker?
Yeah.
So in other words, you fellas went in on a speculation where the broker says within 14 months, I can resell it.
Exactly.
Now, why don't you go after the broker?
Okay.
Because, in other words, the question is, all 6 of you relied on the statement the broker made that within 6 months he can resell it at a profit. That's
correct.
The only base on which you invested.
Right.
So now, instead of sitting there in a corner and saying, hey, don't hit me, why don't you come out fighting?
Okay. Should we also go after the person that originally sold the property, the person that owned the property?
There's no reason to go after him.
Okay.
Unless he misrepresented.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, if the broker said to you, and there's witnesses to it, I tell you without any trouble at all, I can guarantee that within 14 months, we'll resell it at a profit. Therefore, your investment is protected. Then, of course, you've got him.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. I am Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet.
WRC.
Yes, our toll-free number is 1-800-223-41. 41. Good evening. I am Bernard Meltzer. Welcome.
Hello. I have an idea for maybe a new invention.
What kind of idea is it?
Well, it'd be for a new. It'd be for hand tools like sockets. And I wondered if you could put me in contact with someone that could help me make it a reality. You know.
Well, first of all, from what you're telling me, it's possible that it is patentable.
Yes.
However, you've got to take it much beyond the idea to get it patented.
Yes.
So I would say prepare drawings, whatever else, and also make a model. And step number 1 would go see a patent attorney. And you'll order a search made. And then the information will come back. And then you'll compare what's been patented, how it relates to yours. And if it's a go-ahead sign, you'll go ahead and get the patent. Takes a year or two. Costs about $2,000-3,000.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, gosh.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is.
Gosh.
And it also doesn't guarantee once you get the patent that you'll make any money.
Uh-huh.
Because in most cases, people don't recover the amount they spent getting the patent.
Uh-huh. Good.
Now, one other way you might do it, if you want it, is to make up a description of it, drawings, models, everything else, put it in a sealed situation, mail it to yourself, or don't open it. That'll establish priority of the idea. And then go around and see if you get companies interested to manufacture it and market it for a fee or for a royalty or for a license. You got that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. I have a question. If money doesn't grow on trees, my question is, why do banks have so many branches? Answer me that one as I say, I am Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet. My friend, welcome to the program that helps you solve your problem in this way, because as you listen to others trying to solve their problem, yours becomes a lot clearer. Good evening. You're listening to Talknet and also to Bernard Meltzer.
Thank you. I graduated from college in 1975, and I borrowed $4,300 from the National Defense Student Loan.
Right.
I graduated and had a teaching job and didn't make very much money, and it was just easy to ignore paying the bill. So I didn't pay it for a couple of years.
Right.
Then I moved out west and got a job in the oil field, at which I made considerably more money, but just never, I'd lost all the payment books and everything, and it was just, I just ignored it and didn't ever pay it.
Right.
Well, I never paid till last year. My tax return was confiscated, $2,300.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard you talk about the statute of limitations before and wondered why it didn't apply. Now, I got
it doesn't
laid off.
apply for student loans of this kind. It does not. In fact, the statute, what they did to you is an express law of Congress.
Uh-huh.
In other words, Congress passed a law about 3 years ago that said, in cases where student loans are involved and no payments will be made, all refunds are to be confiscated.
Uh-huh. Well, I understand that. It's just that, and, I would probably take my medicine without even worried about it, except the oil field's been having a hard time, and I've been having a hard time keeping working.
Right.
I'm laid off right now, but I got 2 job interviews next week, so things are looking up a little bit anyway.
And now that they know who you are and where you are, don't be a bit surprised that if your file has become active all of a sudden, they're going to go after you.
Well, they've already informed me that this year's is gone too.
Okay. By this time, I guess you owe them nothing.
I'm hoping that I can, get
someone to talk to with something to share. Someone who will always be there. Tune in, turn on, Talknet. We care.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to Talknet. I'm your weekend host, Bernard Meltzer, on every Saturday night and also every Sunday night. Thank you for joining me. Yes, thank you for joining me tonight. I welcome you with my heart as well as my head. Our program is about life itself and how to cope with life on subjects which range all the way from affairs of the pocketbook to affairs that touch the heart and the human spirit. Answers often go way beyond the textbook. Our phone number coast to coast is toll free. Here it is, 1-800-223-4141. 1-800-223-4141. I'm Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet. Start this hour with a very uplifting thought. I call it smiles. A smile is something special. It costs nothing but gives so much pleasure. It makes those who receive it richer without making poor those that give. It takes but a moment, but the memory of it can last for years. It cheers the discouraged. It really is nature's best medicine. But in spite of its great value, it cannot be begged, borrowed, or stolen. A smile has no value unless it's freely given away. Did you know that? Of course you did. And there are some people who have no smiles to give. If that be the case, give them one of yours. For we always find that this to be true. The person who most needs a smile usually has none to give, for only the smiles which we freely give away are the smiles that return to enrich us day by day. Good thought. Good evening, friend. You are on Talknet.
Good evening, sir. Long time listener, first time caller.
Thank you, my friend. Welcome.
You know, it's a big toss-up. I listened to both you and Bruce, and I think that you got the top because you have a better philosophy of life.
Well, Bruce is a very talented man.
But he does not have your minority yet.
Besides, he's much better looking than me.
Well, now that's beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Oh, boy, you are smart.
Hey, last week you walked all over my feet and kicked my shins. I got to tell you about it because your censor may cut me off. But, you say, get it in writing. If it isn't in writing, it's not worth nothing.
Yeah.
My father-in-law told all of his friends and all of his neighbors this piece of property that I'm in now was mine. He wasn't going to touch it. Over a period of 35 or 40 years, I've remodeled it from top to bottom. But when he wrote his will out, when I get rid of it, since I'm the trustee, I got it divided between my wife and her two sisters.
In other words,
nothing.
What he told you doesn't count. You found that out. What he put in writing counts.
I couldn't keep from saying, boy, Dr. Bernard is stepping on my feet. Get off, get off. Hey, look, I got a problem. I need some real good advice.
What's your problem?
As of May of last year, I became a full-fledged, bona fide, 100% government parasite. And I'm not interested.
What happened? You mean you retired?
Oh, you better believe it.
You're not a parasite. No, cut it out. You're no parasite.
Hey!
That money that they're giving you is money that you earned.
Yeah, but let me put it like this. If anybody starts monkeying around with my government checks, I'm in trouble. My Social Security comes from the Treasury. My little Army pension comes from the Treasury. My government check that I worked for the government for 30-some-odd years comes from the Treasury. So don't monkey with a Treasury check. I'm in trouble.
We're not going to monkey with the Treasury at all. Because you remember, we have a great big Army, Navy, and Air Force to defend the Treasury. You're aware of that, aren't you?
Oh, you better believe it. I put in 40-some-odd years in the reserves. I retired from that, too. But I got a piece of property up above the town here where I live.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the neighborhood. I started out with 25 acres, more or less, and a utility come through and cut a railroad and cut a road through a piece of it, and they straightened out the road in front. And so right now I've got, maybe 23 acres, more or less, left.
Right.
And in the middle of it, I built a 9-room house, 5 bedrooms and bath up, 2 bedrooms and bath down.
Right.
And I cannot separate that and make it where somebody can just have an acre or two.
Why not? Sure you can. You subdivide it.
Nah, I don't want to do that.
What do you want to do?
I got it zoned commercially for light manufacturing.
Right.
And I want your advice like this. Now, I got rocks in my head, according to some of my friends, because I want to get a home equity loan on that, since you can deduct.
You're not going to get a home equity loan on land.
No, I got a 9-room house there, too.
But it's zoned commercial.
Well, I
Why did you zone it commercial?
I can still get a loan up to about, give or take, say, somewhere between 60 and 70 on it.
All right, so what's the problem?
I want to buy an RV and go traveling.
You want to buy a what?
A recreational vehicle. You know, one of them campers?
Yep, with 4 wheels.
Yeah.
Or 6 wheels.
No, I don't want 6. I want a small one.
Will you take me with you?
If you want to go. I tell you what, about the time I became retarded,
No, don't say retarded. Retired.
Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. When I became retired,
right,
I joined a resort deal, something like this venture out. In other words, I don't think this will be advertising to them or anything because it's not for
some
everybody.
camping ground setup. Okay, I understand.
Coast resorts.
Yeah.
If I got my own RV, I can stay for $1 a night.
That's good.
And I just want to know what you thought about that. Do you think it'd be a good idea?
How old are you?
65. Well, I should say.
No, wait. Are you married?
You better believe it, this blushing bride of mine.
Wait a while. Are you taking your bride along with you?
Yes, sir.
You sure of that?
Well, she's still right here listening to you on the radio.
Are you taking a dog and a cat along?
I better be sure of that.
Are you taking a cat along?
No, sir. She does not like cats.
How about dogs?
Well, a dog got a little old. We had to have him put to sleep, so we don't want another one.
So I would say, with your disposition, you'll get along anywhere.
Well, she hasn't left me yet.
She hasn't. Well, if I were her, I'd give it consideration.
That's the main thing about it. We didn't know whether I wanted to rent one.
Well, the reason why I say she can go out and get a good man instead of you.
You better believe it. You better believe it.
Lots of luck, friend. I love you. I like your attitude on life. I wish I had your attitude.
Well, what do you think about that? You think that's a good idea?
Good idea. I'd love to. I wish I could do it.
Good.
Thanks, friend. God be with you. I am Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet.
And now let's get back to the conversation with your host, Bernard Meltzer, on your Station of the Stars, 980 on your AM dial, WRC.
PS is 1-800-223-4141. You are welcome to call. I would be delighted, by the way, if you would think of me as a trusted family member, as brother, uncle, dad, because I hope by now I have earned the privilege of being considered a trusted family member. Good evening. You are on Talknet. Welcome.
Hello. How are you?
Okay.
You have such a beautiful outlook on life.
I hope so.
You really do. I used to have it that way.
Sometimes it gets a little clouded.
Well, I know mine's clouded right now myself. I'm a widow, and
what can I do for you, my friend?
My husband's been dead a couple of years, and I have tried to go ahead and work. I have done house cleaning, kennel cleaning, any kind of work I can.
Right.
I'm a very active woman, and lately I've been putting my applications at Walmart, Scotty's, all these other kind of people, and I haven't heard from them. And I'm getting very despondent on account of it.
How old are you?
I'm 60. I'll be 61 this March.
And the kind of work you're doing is compared to housework?
It doesn't make any difference. I have worked in factories. I have been a waitress. I have been a hostess. You name it, and I've done it.
And you're running into the fact that age 61, it's harder to get a job. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, sir. It really is.
A couple of million people can tell you
down in the dumps.
Honey, in this country, we have age discrimination as a general pattern.
But they don't tell you this.
No, well, yeah, sure they do. Look at your TV shows.
They don't tell you
honey, we have an age discrimination pattern right down the line. So I say, look at the media. Do they ever show, for instance, a woman your age in a glamorous situation? Of course they don't.
No.
The world is run by kids aged 21.
But they're not, a lot of the kids
the other day, for example,
not reliable.
Honey, the other day, for example, I saw an ad for Cadillacs. Well, the average age of a Cadillac owner who buys one is in the 50s.
Uh-huh.
Well, what they do, they had a chick of about 16 years old, behind the wheel being picked up by the fellow about 18.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ask the agency that did it, they say, well, people like to think of themselves as young. There's age discrimination right down the line, even though in your case it may not be specific. They say, here's a woman of 61. Who wants her? Let's put her on a ash heap. Yes, I agree with you, honey. How to change it?
It's a shame, really.
How to change it?
It's really a shame that people are active and want to work.
The answer is...
people don't want to hire them.
You're not going to change it in our lifetime, honey.
Youth is wasted, really, on young people.
You know who said that?
No, yes, I think it was Bernard Shaw.
George Bernard Shaw. You are so right.
Yes.
You're right.
But I really appreciate your show, and I really love hearing what you have to say.
One of the things we do on this show
God
is...
put so much on this world for everybody to enjoy, and so many people miss it every day. But it seems to me that you don't.
Let me read you something that I was going to read next hour about age. You want to listen to it?
Yes, sir.
It says, let me grow more lovely as I grow old. Like many other fine things do, like laces and wine and ivory and gold, we all know that the finest of silk are not those that age gracefully. And who does not admire the stately old tree as it overshadows the scrawny sapling? And of course, old houses with a history are so much more interesting and so much more dignified. So why may not I also grow more lovely, grow more loving, grow more interesting, grow more desirable as I grow old? What do you think of that?
That's beautiful. I would love to have that poem.
But it's not true.
It is. No, it is not in life.
It's not true.
Not in life.
And you know why it's not true? Because you do nothing about it.
Oh, I try to.
No, you don't. Let me tell you, for example, every time you see a TV show, for example, that runs down old people and shows they don't even exist in this world, and everything is run by somebody age 21, you sit down and write to that advertiser and say, I don't like the way you treat older people. If 1,000 people want to do it on a program, they would change that program. Hear what I just said?
I understand what you're trying to say, and I appreciate it.
Try it.
And you gave me a lot of confidence.
Bye-bye.
And thank you so much.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
My friend, welcome to Talknet. I am Bernard Meltzer. Welcome aboard. Are you there?
Good evening, Mr. Meltzer.
Hiya.
It's a real pleasure to have the opportunity to talk with you.
Thank you.
Sir, I'm looking at an article here that says I can make up to $300 weekly clipping coupons at home.
Clipping coupons at home.
Right, and
then I have another article right here, an ad that says you can make $100 a week by addressing envelopes.
Well, I haven't run across that one, but
you haven't run across that one. Okay.
But it claims that you can that they're willing to pay 10 to 30% of the face value of each clip-on you clip and send. And I am familiar with an organization here locally that buys coupons by the pound.
Correct.
And I talked with them personally, but that just seemed like a...
No, it doesn't say, by the way, you'll make $300, does it? It says you can make up to. Doesn't it say that?
Right. It says 10%.
See, up to means you can make $5 a week, and still that ad is true.
Right.
The question, what you're saying, yes, people have been known to make some money at home clipping coupons, but you don't make much money, and on a per hourly basis, it isn't worth too much. I'm not against it. But if you're asking me whether you can make good money on it, I say no.
Well, the thing of it is, I surmise that most folks wouldn't have a source of a lot of coupons, whereas I do.
You do? That's excellent then. Then not only will you make $300 a week, you'll make $300 a day.
Because I can get coupons, I mean, it's almost an unlimited supply.
Why? Why do you have an unlimited supply?
Well... I get them from a recycling center.
Okay. The answer is you are in good shape. until they find out about it.
Yeah.
Thanks, friend. You know, this is an old Hebrew proverb, and it says the best way to mourn the dead is to take care of the living. Good evening, friend. You are on Talknet. Welcome.
Good evening, Uncle Bernard.
Yes, friend.
I've listened to you many times before, and I'm afraid I've made a mistake here.
What did you do?
I hope you can give me some good advice, and maybe God will be with me.
What did you do?
Purchased a truck. The truck was around close to $30,000.
Yeah.
I put down approximately $17,000 on it. The night of the original, when I first went down to buy it, we agreed upon an interest rate. Okay.
Of how much?
I forget the exact number quoted.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I can't give you that information. But they said that my payment would be $282.75 a month.
Right.
And I said that would be fine, and that I would finance that much. I then received a letter from the finance company saying I was late on my first payment. I had received no payment schedule, books, or anything like that, and I had called them up and said I hadn't received anything, but on their letter they said that the payment due was $316.
All right, let me tell you a little bit what's involved here. When you finance something, whether it be a truck or a house or anything else, the fact that you did not get a book does not relieve you of making payments. So there you struck out on that one. Now, why it changed, I don't know. Do you know why it was changed?
They said that because of the financing being placed over a 4-year period rather than a 2-year period.
That's true.
That it would be $316 as opposed to $282.75.
Well, I'll tell you what, you stay put. We have to break for a 2-minute break. We'll be back. Don't go away. Stay put. I'm Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet.
Dr. Bernard Meltzer, 980 WRC.
Good evening, my wonderful radio family. Yes, a toll-free number to call Bernard Meltzer is toll-free. Here it is, 1-800-223-4141. We're talking to a gentleman about a truck that he purchased where the payments jumped more than he anticipated. Are you there, friend?
Could I give you a couple more details? I have not received this truck yet. It's been 2 months that I've waited for it. It had a spring that was defective, and they are replacing that at no charge. The factory is taking care of it. The reason it was tied up is because they were building a body for it. It was being specially made. On my contract, in the middle of it, none of the payment schedule was filled out. None, and the interest rate was not placed on it. I, like a fool, signed the thing.
That's what I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
But you signed a contract in blank.
Isn't there a truth in lending law?
In fact, it's against the law of almost every state I know for an automobile dealer to get you to sign a contract in blank.
Well, it did have the purchase price on the truck plus the cost of the body.
But it didn't have all the information necessary. I tell you this, you probably could fight it if you want to. Okay. But it'll cost you a lot more money to fight it than it's worth.
Well, we're talking about $1,600 here over a period of four years on finance.
It'll cost you more than $1,600 to fight it if you want to take it to court. I'll tell you that now.
Would it have to go to regular court, or could I take it to small claims court?
No, this is too complicated for small claims court.
Okay.
So I'm going to say to you right now, my good friend, you've been around many years, and by this time you've learned when you're dealing with an automobile dealer, some of them are very honest, but you don't know it. If you don't get it in writing, you're not going to get it. You can't rely on it. Okay. So I'm going to say to you right now, you've learned a lesson. I don't think there's anything you can do except just grin and bear it, because the cost of fighting it is a lot more than it would be worth to you. I'm sorry to give you that answer. I'm Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet. My friend, welcome to the program that brings you a broad spectrum of fact and knowledge encompassing over 40 different professions and vocations. Good evening, my friend. Are you there?
Hello there, Dr. Meltzer.
Welcome.
Good evening. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
I've listened to your program so much, and I said one time I'm going to get on and get him. So I finally got you.
What's on your mind?
Sir, I live in an apartment complex for 16 years, and the leases naturally read now 30 days either party, you know. Can give either party 30 days for termination.
In other words, are these written leases?
Yes, sir.
And then month-to-month leases?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
The manager took out for me all of a sudden and put in the file some allocations that were terrible that I don't know anything about, never have done.
Right.
Sent it to the home office, and I got one of these terminations.
In other words, they want you out.
Sir?
They want you out.
So I went to the home office, and the head of the property told me to disregard the letter.
Yeah.
I want to know what recourse I have against this woman. This woman is 73 years old and has put in there stuff that I have never done in my life.
Okay. What did she accuse you of?
She said I went down on laundry room and threw somebody's laundry on the floor. Can you imagine that?
Well.
And then she said,
not much you can do about that.
Sir?
Not much you can do about that.
Well, it's just little things like that she put in the file which are not true.
Well, they're annoying, understand, but basically there's really nothing you can do about it. And, of course, if they believe it, which they did at first, but now they've changed their mind, forget about the whole incident. It isn't worth the aggravation.
It isn't?
No.
Well, I thought maybe I could take
In other words, if she was accusing you of being a crook or stealing or something else that is hideous, but what she's accusing you of would be laughed out of court. Don't do it. Don't do it.
All right. Thank you very, very much for your information.
Bye-bye. Good evening, my friend. Welcome to Talknet. I am Bernard Meltzer. Hiya.
I'm doing fine. How are you?
We're doing well.
Oh, good. I have a real difficult question to ask you. I'm hoping you can give me the answer to.
Why? What is it?
My ex-husband and I got a divorce. Well, actually, it was annulment over 4 years ago now.
Yeah.
He refused to give me the annulment unless I would give him joint custody of our son.
On what basis did you get an annulment after a child?
He was bigamous. He was not
In other words, he
when
wasn't
I married him.
In other words, he was not in a position to get married legally.
Correct.
That is worth an annulment.
Pardon me?
Okay, that's worth an annulment.
Yeah. Okay, to make a long story short, I did not want to have any more children. I love my son dearly. I had him, and 2 years later, I started having some real health problems. And my doctor had suggested that when my husband and I had split up, that I find somewhere to keep him for at least a couple weeks. So I sent him with my ex-husband's parents to live for a couple weeks.
Right.
In which they never gave my son back. Okay.
What do you mean they never gave your son back? Well, did you take action to get your son back?
Yes, I did. I made attempts to visit him.
No. Didn't you go to court?
No. Since I have remarried, my husband and I wanted custody of my son. And the ex-husband refused to do anything about it. He said
honey, please listen to me.
Yes.
There's the only way you can get back custody of your child now that they have it is to go into court and ask for a formal declaration of custody. And right now, nobody's been declared the guardian of the child. And you, as mama, you have a prior. Oh, you're way up ahead of everybody.
Well, wait a minute, Bernard. That's not the problem.
What's the problem?
The problem is he is still with the grandparents. So that means he has been with the grandparents for going on 3 years right now.
So what's
He's been with them since he was 2 years old.
So what does that mean?
My husband and I had made many, many attempts. They would hide the child from us.
Listen to me, sweetheart.
Yes.
You called me for information.
Yes.
I'll give it to you. Understand?
Uh-huh.
I'm telling you now, whether they hide the child, whether your ex-husband has it, whether the grandparents has it, whether your aunt or anybody else has a child, what you must do, you must go into court and get a formal order from the court that you are the guardian and you have custody of that child. Once you have that order from the court, if they don't deliver it, you have his parents arrested.
Okay, here's the problem, though, Bernard.
What's the problem?
The problem is the grandparents who the child is living with has, excuse the terminology, but have brainwashed him so bad that he is scared to death of us. I have not seen my child
my
now
good
in
friend,
about
please
2.5
listen to me
years.
again. Honey,
Pardon me?
Listen to me again.
We don't want the child now, though. That is the whole problem.
So if you don't want the child?
No, now the ex-husband has remarried a woman who works with the district attorney's child support division, which I'm not going to mention where.
Yep.
And she gave me a call about a month ago and is threatening me now that either I let the grandparents adopt this child, which I will not do because they are severe alcoholics. I want him out of there, but I don't feel I am capable of raising the child myself either.
So your question to me is
this is what I want to do. I don't know what to do. I want my child in some good, loving home somewhere. And
Sweetheart, your problem is too complicated right now to find out where the right or wrong is.
Yeah.
When you tell me when a mother does not want a child,
yeah,
I give up. In other words, therefore, I think that you have not too much right to dictate it what you are dictating because you're putting the child into a foster care situation. You don't want anybody to adopt the child. This is a young child, and you don't want anybody to, in fact, give it love and attention. But you don't want to do it. So why are you sitting there and saying, I will oppose adoption, I will oppose this, I don't want the child, yet you're telling me you want things your way. You can't have it all the way, sweetheart. I'm Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet.
And now it's time to return to more of your telephone calls and discussion with your host, Bernard Meltzer, on 980 AM WRC.
Yes, our toll-free number is 1-800-223-4141. I welcome you to the program that brings you a broad spectrum of fact and knowledge, which encompasses over 40 different professions and vocations. Good evening, friend.
How you doing, friend?
We're doing well.
I've got a problem.
What's your problem?
I am 27 years old, and I am a high school teacher.
Right.
Okay. In my state, the drinking law is 21. Okay. Now I'm going back to last year. I was out at the bar. I met this young lady, very nice looking. She was at 21 because they had to check for ID for drinks, to allow her inside the club. I met up with her later on that evening, and we were going out and everything. And meanwhile, I'm still going on with my routine when school started.
Right.
Now, 2 months ago, I get this new student in my class transferred from a different high school.
Right.
I give you one guess who it was.
Oh, I guess already. What happened?
Well, I'm in a situation.
A question: did she deliberately transfer into your class, or is this a coincidence?
Well, she had moved from her original residence to an area which put her into our school district.
Right.
What is really weird is that now I'm in a catch-22. I mean, since we had a sexual relationship back last year in the summertime, she's now bringing this up in front of me, and I've got my choice. Either I do it, or I can get my license pulled.
First of all, whether you get your license pulled or not over that, I doubt it, okay? Because you're telling me that this lady is an adult, age 21 or...
No, she's only 17.
Oh. Oh, you didn't tell me that.
No, see, her ID was 21. She wouldn't be in high school. She's still 21.
Well, of course, you had every reason to believe that she was... yes, there are some... Don't say that. There are people around that are 21 or over in high school.
I've never come across that.
The answer to you, of course, is you had reason to believe at that time she was 21 or over and that.
Right, because she was carded, because she went to the pub, and I just, happened to be by the door at that time. As I was walking.
What is she demanding? She's demanding from you what at this time? What is she saying?
She's either saying either I go to bed with her or she's going to turn me in.
You have to do what?
Either I go to bed with this woman or she's going to turn me in.
Well, don't do that now. Now that you do know she's 17, you would be committing professional suicide to do it. You understand that? Before you didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And whether this means anything at all depends a lot where you are. For example, we're broadcasting from New York City.
Right.
In New York City, if a complaint like that were made under the circumstances you made, they would ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, in many other parts of the country, which have much stricter standards, they would not ignore it.
Okay, now see, I was told not to tell you what state I was in. Well, let's say I am south of you.
Where, around the Washington, D.C. area?
No, sir, I'm talking about south.
Oh, you mean really south?
Yes, sir. Okay. And,
are you as far south as Florida?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My good friend.
And I'm in a real sticky situation. I mean, like this woman, this girl, I should say. I mean, she's really, I guess, really hot over me or something. I just can't get rid of her.
She's playing with you. Let me tell you a little bit of the story of a friend that I had who was... Come up higher with me where life is more serene and the clouds provide the softest of pillows. Come up higher with me, let us rise above our earthbound outlook, above the crowd, where happiness is so much easier to capture, where the heart is truer, the air is purer, and the sky is bluer. A lovely thought, isn't it? Good evening, friend. You are on Talknet, and I'm Bernard Meltzer. Welcome.
How you doing?
Okay.
Okay. The problem is I've fallen in love with one of my lady friends whom I've known for the past 2 years.
22 years?
2 years.
2 years.
And I'd like very much to get together with her, and get a place. The problem is she's living with a guy whom has her totally convinced that if she broke up with him, kicked her out of her apartment, she'd be destined for be by herself the rest of her life. I've tried many times to convince her that I do love her and would like to get into a strong, meaningful relationship with her. But she's totally, she's confused. She doesn't know which way to turn.
And she has her doubts about you, apparently, too.
Well,
in other words,
I don't know what he's told her.
No, this is what he's told her. It's what she believes about you. It's, in other words, also what you told her.
Right.
It may very well be that if you propose marriage to her.
No, I have not.
Why not? In other words, that's to a woman. That's a true indication that the man she is going to establish a relationship is sincere. You're taking her from one affair to another.
Yeah.
If I were a woman, I'd say, what difference does it make? Now, what is this second fellow offering me that the first fellow's not? Now, what are you offering her that she doesn't have now?
Happiness.
Well, that's what you think. But happiness takes two. It takes two to tango.
Right. Well, I've also talked many times with her friends and neighbors around here. And from when I met her up until now, her happiness has gone downhill. I mean, like, she just don't care.
All right, make her happy. Say, look, you and I are made for each other. I promise you that if we start a relationship and it goes right, we'll be married in 6 months. Why don't you try that? See how happy that makes her.
Okay.
I'll bet you it makes her very happy.
Anything's worth a try at this point.
Go ahead. But mean what you say.
Oh, I definitely do, without a doubt.
All right? Raise the stakes. See what happens with the fellow she's living with now. See if he proposes and matches you for marriage. I would say no. And you would say no, too.
Right.
Go ahead. You're way ahead of the game now.
Okay.
Send me an invitation when the marriage takes place.
Thank you. True.
Bye-bye. You know, you can keep people from having bad opinions about you or even saying bad things about you, but you can't stop it. We know that. But you sure can keep them from coming true. That you can do. Good evening, my friend. You are listening to Talknet, and I am Bernard Meltzer. Welcome aboard.
Mr. Meltzer, I will be going down south. I've had enough snow up here where I'm living, and I want to rent a trailer or mobile home or 2 to 3 months in Florida. Now, 2 or 3 people that I know that give make out these security deposits or damage deposits or whatever. They never seem to have cut them back for one little reason or the other.
Well, that's what many businessmen do that. Many landlords do that, too, when you rent an apartment.
Yeah, right. Well, what I was wondering, where I'll be signing one of them, and what should I be watching out for?
Read the agreement you sign. You'll find out that they let everything in there which allows them to deduct for every scratch you make, for every day you're late, for every time you abuse the right wheel, every time you drive excess miles or everything else. In other words, they always find a reason why they keep the deposit.
Yeah,
and
right.
If you want to stop it, you've got to cross out that agreement to give them all the reasons they use to keep the deposit. Understand what I said?
Yeah, in other words, yeah.
But very often when you do that, they say, look, no trailer, no mobile home.
Yeah, I know. I will be a little hard up right now. We got snow up to our ears here on Cape Cod. I just want to get out of here, right?
Well, what's wrong with snow?
I had enough of it. A little bit is all right, you know. We're way out here 25 miles offshore, you know, from Plymouth, and I had enough. This is the most snow I've ever seen. I think I'll get down.
Remember, acres of diamonds are in your own backyard.
Yeah, I'll be back in April. I was just wondering, you know, what the...
Cape Cod is gorgeous.
Yeah. It sure is. It's
You want me to trade you a place in Florida for Cape Cod?
Pardon?
I'll trade you a place in Florida for Cape Cod.
No way. No.
Oh, you're backing out
No,
now.
no. I can't take that. It's too hot after April down there. You know?
You're a hard man to satisfy.
Yeah, I know. Well, okay.
Thank you.
I listen to you.
Have a good show.
Yeah, thank you.
Have a good trip.
Bye.
Bye-bye. You are listening to Bernard Meltzer on Talknet, the show that brings you real drama, unrehearsed real drama, of real people with real problems trying to cope with life. And I am Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet.
Hey, this is Ed Walker. Don't forget, tomorrow between 4 and 7, I'll get you home in the rush hour traffic. Right now, back to Bernard Meltzer on Talknet, here on the Station of the Stars, 980 WRC.
Yes, our toll-free number is 1-800-223-4141. I remind you that this program is a combination of information, human interest, and real-life drama. It's the real story of people struggling to cope with life. As you listen, you better learn how you yourself can cope with life while you are being entertained at the same time. Good evening. You are listening to Bernard Meltzer. Welcome.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Meltzer.
Good evening, my friend.
It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you.
I've tried so long to get on. Now, I am a little mix-up here.
What? Why?
Well, I have never been real close to my family, but I get into a sick leave here, 85 in the beginning of 86. And I had surgery so that I was on a walker. And I was in a rehab center, and they wouldn't keep me on account of Medicare there any longer. I had to make my mind up either to come home or go to a rest home, because I live alone and there's nobody here to help or to get my meals. So that my sisters, I have two older sisters and one that's a widow. They all have homes, and the two sisters have the old homestead.
Right.
And they didn't invite me or ask me to go and stay with them.
Did you ask?
Yes.
And they said no?
Yes, they did. And all I was asking was just to get my meal. And as far as bathing me, the registered nurse would come in. But I never... So I went to this rest home, and I was abused there.
In what
terrible
way?
Place to go. The meals were terrible. And then I got a terrific cold, so I couldn't come out till the doctor there discharged me, which was 2 weeks after that. And anyway,
Yeah. What question are you asking Bernard Meltzer?
I would like to find out now. They haven't. I'm very bitter, and I don't want to talk to them, and I don't want to see them for that reason. And I'm just wondering, should I stay like that? And I have my own home here.
I question. These two sisters are the only relatives you have close by, right?
Oh, no, I have nieces and I have nephews, but then nobody is close by to me here.
All right, so therefore you're angry at your two sisters, okay?
That's right, three of them.
Three of them.
One is a widow living alone.
Now you're so angry at them, you never want to talk to them again.
No, I feel that way, Doctor.
What have you accomplished?
Because my bill was enormous. My bill was $1,400 at the rest home.
So what have you accomplished?
And I'm on a senior citizen pension. That's
so the
all.
question I'm asking you, my friend.
Yes.
You take a vow never to talk to them again and never to see them again. What have you accomplished? Have you made yourself feel better?
No. I'm not better, no. But
do you ever ask yourself why they said no to you?
Well, I know the reason why.
Why?
They actually want to know my personal affairs here and who I'm leaving this house to.
Right.
And I have never told them, and I don't think it's any of their business because they never helped me.
Is it quite possible that you are distant from them rather than they distant from you?
What? I can't hear you, Doctor.
Is it quite possible that you are distant from them rather than they are at arm's length from you?
Well,
is it quite possible if I spoke to them, they would say, our sister...
They have never called me.
Well, have you called them?
No, I haven't.
All right. In other words, this is a standoff. Who wins in this standoff? Nobody wins.
No, but Doctor, they knew my circumstances. They knew I was living on Social Security, and they knew that I had to pay in that rest home because Medicare
So therefore, they knew all this and did nothing. Now, what do you want to do?
I just
do you want to go to your grave saying, I never, never, never gave in to my sisters? Is that what you want to say?
This is what I want to say, but I still say they're not bothering with me either.
I'm saying to be a friend, you have to have a friend, you have to be a friend. Keep that in mind. If you want their friendship, maybe because you are right in this case, you have to say, I'm sorry, and try to renew the friendship, because you are right. And my daddy used to say, if you're really right, then you apologize twice.
And you think that I should go and plead to them now to come here?
I think you should write them a good, nice letter saying now that you're feeling better. You feel that the remoteness between you and your sister should not endure, and therefore the good Lord has only given you a couple of more years of life, and let's get together and act like sisters. That's what I say you do. Thank you. Welcome to the program, my friend, that helps you cope with life and even with yourself. Good evening. Are you there, friend?
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
Okay.
Great. I have a question regarding my mortgage of 19 years. I have $1,900 left to pay on it on a first mortgage, and I also have an equity loan out for $15,000.
Right.
I've been advised, because I have a liquidity problem, that I should probably try to get a first mortgage, remortgage my whole home, and get a first mortgage for, say, $40,000 and pay off the equity loan, the first mortgage, and some credit cards, and put $10,000 in the bank.
And how much monthly payments will you have after that?
With the $40,000 mortgage?
Yep.
It would bring it to around $500.
Is that comfortable with you?
Well, it's more comfortable than what I have now.
So why don't you do it?
Well, I'm concerned about the commitment of a 30-year mortgage.
I would say take a 15-year mortgage. The difference in payments is not that great.
Okay. Does age have anything to do with it, Dr. Meltzer?
Age?
Uh-huh.
Yes. How old are you?
I'm 42.
Oh, you can get yourself a 30-year mortgage.
You think I should go for 30 years?
Nope. 15.
15, definitely.
Yep.
And you think that I should put the $10,000 in the bank so I have more liquidity?
Do you have anything in the bank right now?
No.
Who gave you that? Who gave you that advice?
A good friend of mine who's in financial planning.
What is he trying to sell you?
I'm not sure. There wasn't any one particular item. It was just, I think he was trying to sell me on the idea that I needed liquidity.
I would say don't do it. I would say take $10,000 less. You've gotten along somehow right now, and if you really get into a crisis, at that time you get yourself an equity loan very quickly.
So just take out what I need then.
You take out what you need.
And it reduces my monthly out-of-pocket, and I'll still have
tremendously.
Extra money. Okay. So what do you feel about the points?
What about the points?
Should I try to get a mortgage without the points? Or there's several different types out there. And I've been told that I should try to go for something around, say, even 9.5 with no points, and should hold off until I can find something like that.
No, I would rather have you go for 8.5 with points.
8.5 with points?
Because on a 15-year loan, 1 point is only equal to 1/8%. Thanks, friend.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
My friend, I just looked at the clock, and the clock says, Bernard Meltzer, you've got to get ready for a 2-minute break. So all I want to say to you, when I say to you, extensive life experience lies behind many of my answers, what I really am saying, that it took me many years of learning, many years of doing things, many years of making mistakes. All these are contained in my answers, so that by now, I've reached the point I think I can advise you and counsel you on what you should do so that you do not make too many mistakes. I'm Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet.
Now let's rejoin Bernard Meltzer on 980 WRC.
I say welcome to the program that helps you cope with life and even with yourself. Our phone number coast to coast is toll free. You're welcome to call us. It's 1-800-223-4141. Good evening. Good evening, friend. Welcome to Talknet.
Hello, Doctor.
Hiya.
landlord-tenant situation.
Which are you, the tenant or the landlord?
Landlord.
Go ahead.
First of the year, the tenant give notice they're moving.
Right.
Saturday comes, they look like they're moving, but indeed they don't finish.
Right.
The other people are ready to move in. What do you do?
There's nothing you can do because you now have to go back into court and get yourself an eviction notice. In other words, you can't put them out just because you sent them a letter saying your lease is up. To put them out, you've got to get a court order. And that's what you've got to do.
Then are you responsible for the new people coming in if they don't have any place to go? You have to pay for a motel?
Well, of course, if you signed yourself a situation where you committed to people going in, what you then have is a lawsuit against the person who didn't get out. In other words, if my lease was up and you gave me notice to get out, and I should have gotten out, but I didn't.
Right.
But you had to go to court. As a result, it took you an extra month. Therefore, I owe you rent for the extra month. Not only that, but also if the people coming in had to use a motel for a month, then you can go after me for another month's rent.
But am I responsible to them, or is the landlord?
Well, yes, in a way you're responsible because you signed a contract. Mm-hmm. In other words, you didn't make the contract condition. If you signed a contract, or a lease is a contract, you know that, saying that the apartment is available, let's say, February 1st.
Right.
Contingent upon the current tenants getting out of there by, let's say, January 15th. You didn't do that.
Oh.
You said, as of, let's say, the 1st of February, I can have the apartment. Correct?
Yes.
Now you've learned something.
Right.
Next time you make it contingent.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. You know, as you go through life, you quickly become aware that the same words have different meaning to different people when uttered by different people. For example, let's take the fellow who writes the ads for the bank. Yes, he has quite a different meaning to language than the fellow who approves the loans for the bank. What a different meaning in language. Good evening. Welcome to Talknet. I'm Bernard Meltzer.
Hello, Doctor.
Hiya.
I surely hope that you can help me make a decision.
What's the matter?
Okay, my best friend, who is a married woman, 55 years old.
Right.
Her husband asked her for a divorce.
Her husband is what?
Her husband asked her for a divorce.
Okay.
About a year and a half ago.
Right.
She will not give him a divorce.
Okay.
And she is absolutely, I feel like she's dying. She's lost 60 pounds.
Right.
She is a nervous wreck. She has threatened everything. She's so unhappy.
How long have they been married?
About 30 some odd years.
Well, therefore, what you tell me is quite logical.
Now, he has had another woman for 10 years.
Right.
And she knew about it.
Right.
And supposedly, she said, that he was going to quit her. So when she told him that, he asked her for a divorce. Then, I don't know what to do for her. They have 2 sons.
Okay. In other words, you must keep in mind, you as an outsider watching this have a little different viewpoint on this. It's the same thing like very often a person will call me up and say, my son is on drugs. He doesn't go to school. He doesn't obey me. He steals and so on. I can say very frankly to Mama, throw him out. But then I ask myself the question, what would I say if this were my son? Would I throw him out? Although people would say to me, throw him out, it's quite possible I would not. Same thing here. This woman has been married for over 30 years. She wants to deny it to herself that her husband is, let's say, having an affair, and if the marriage is over. And she's hoping against hope that someday it'll change, and it may change. You see, it's one thing to have an affair for 10 years. It's another thing for the man to be up against reality, when now his wife says, hey, you want a divorce? Get the divorce. And now all of a sudden, he now is up against a different set of circumstances. It isn't any sweeter anymore. Now the same problems he had with wife number one come up with wife number two. So I'm saying, before you judge her.
I'm not judging her. I just need to help her.
You help her as follows.
How do I help her?
By being her friend, being supportive, and never bringing up anything that she doesn't want to talk about.
Okay, I've never told her what to do. I keep telling her, it's your decision.
No, don't put it that way. That's a cop-out, see?
Well, I can't tell her to leave him.
No, don't tell him it's your decision. In other words, when she starts talking about her husband and whether she'd leave him, just talk it over with her. See, when you throw it to somebody and say, it's like what happens today in family life. The kid says, Mama and Daddy, I'm thinking of going to college and studying surf riding. And although Mom and Daddy don't like it, they say, that's your decision. The kid really didn't want that kind of answer. So I'm saying it right now, don't throw it on her and say it's your decision. Just be supportive. Talk to her without throwing this burden on top of her. She's got enough of a burden to carry now. And also never bring up anything at all about this because she knows you know, and she doesn't want to break the ice. Please allow her let's say, to carry her secret. At least she thinks she's carrying a secret.
Oh, she's told me all about it.
Yes, but on the other hand, don't you bring it up every time something comes up.
Isn't there anything else I can do to help her?
Nothing.
She's
And hope and pray.
Wreck.
And hope and pray that affair with that other woman kind of tapers off, because I don't think your friend wants a divorce.
No, she doesn't.
Okay. And also, she's willing to overlook a lot of things that maybe you and I would not overlook. And she's willing to overlook it because she finds herself up against the hard rock. Life, by the way, is interpreted differently by different people in different circumstances. That's why one of my favorite expressions, there but for the grace of God go I. Thanks, friend. I am Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet. My friend, welcome to the program that brings you real theater, the real-life problems of real people. Good evening. You are listening to Bernard Meltzer on Talknet.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Okay.
I've got a question for you.
Right.
I'm 35 years old. I've gone through 3 marriages. I have 2 children. I have legal custody of one, and my ex-wife has the other one. And about 5 years ago, I was charged with a felony charge, and I was wondering, are there any way that a person can get that off of your record?
What did you do to be charged with a felony?
It was a forgery.
Did you serve time?
Yeah.
And how long has it been since you've been out of jail?
It's been 5 years.
Well, of course, you see, there are 2 ways to do this. If you go ahead and live what I'll say, I would say more than 5 years, a life without blemish. You can either apply to the court to have the record expunged or apply to the governor's office for a pardon. Either way.
You have to, it's got to be over 5 years?
No, there is no time, 5 years or 10 years. But usually, before you really have an argument going on, you've got to have a long period of time that you live a life without a blemish.
Yeah.
5 years, I would say, is a little bit too short.
Yeah.
10 years probably would be a little bit more likely to receive attention.
Well, see, it's messing me up in my job. I've lost the best job I've ever had because I lied on the application about my charges.
How did they find out?
They just I just found out some way through a computer. I was working with aircraft, and they found out and fired me. And I'm not allowed to even own a handgun or be in a house that has a gun.
Yep.
And I was just wondering, how I could sweep that clean.
It'll take a while to do it. Talk to a lawyer. Maybe if you petition the governor for a pardon, that'll do the trick.
Well, okay. Thank you a lot.
Bye-bye. Happiness comes when you develop the capacity to love deeply, to give unselfishly of yourself, when your life is filled with good deeds and acts of charity, and when you know that someone needs you and cares for you, and when someone gives love and your love is returned to you 1,000-fold. That is happiness. Good evening, my friend. Welcome to Talknet.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
How you doing?
Okay.
Hey, I was going to refinance my house.
Yeah.
And in the course of doing so, I had to get the house appraised.
Yeah.
And my house, I found out, had gone up in value enough that I started thinking that I could sell it and build a new one, a bigger one with the money I make on my house.
So why don't you do it?
For the same money.
What did you pay for your house?
I paid about $50,000.
And what was it appraised for?
It's $61,000.
That isn't much of an increase.
That was only a couple of years. So.
No, that is not a much. In other words, if it went from $50,000 to $150,000 in a couple of years, I'd say that's a big increase. But your increase has only been 20%. And that's not a lot in 3 years for real estate.
Oh, at any rate, is there any way that I'd be able to get a loan to build while I'm selling my place?
Well, of course. Why don't you get a loan, a construction loan on what you're building? In other words, do you own a land? Do you own a lot?
Well, it's the lot that my house is on.
In other words, you want to tear your house down?
No, See, what I want to do is build another one on another lot.
So therefore, you go ahead and subdivide it, get that thing through. And once you've got that, get the plans into the bank for a construction loan to build.
Okay.
And that's how you get the money to build. That's how builders get money to build.
So it won't hurt me that I have a house now that I have to sell?
Nope. In other words, if the house you want to build is worth enough money, and the mortgage, construction loan you want, it comes within the limits of that mortgage, the answer is yes, you can get it.
Okay. I have another question, too, on the... While I was going through the refinancing, I found out another company had a lower rate. Just recently, they dropped their rates.
Yeah.
Now, would there be any penalties for me at this point? Like, we were figuring on closing a refinancing the end of February.
At what rate?
At 9. And
now the company is what? Offering what?
Another one's, they keep switching between 8.5 and 8 3/4.
How many? What? You've made application?
They're both 3 points.
But hasn't it cost you a point to make application?
It hasn't cost me anything yet. They gave me some kind of letter to sign, a commitment letter.
And did you sign it?
Yeah.
Therefore, you're committed. And how does the commitment letter commit you?
It says a deposit of $200 will be required at the time of commitment, but they said I could waive that till closing.
It may very well be that, first of all, if you're going to run around for 0.5%, it may as well be that if you're in a small community, I don't know what the size community is, you'll lose both of them. Because both of them will say, this fella isn't playing fair. But basically, I say you have a right to go for the lowest mortgage rate you can get. Thanks. I am Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet.
You're listening to Talknet in the nation's capital on 980 WRC. If you'd like to participate, the toll-free number is 800-223-4141.
I would be delighted if you would think of me as a trusted family member, maybe his brother, cousin, uncle, dad. Yes, I hope by now I've earned the privilege of being considered a trusted family member. Our phone number coast to coast is toll-free. Here it is, 1-800-223-4141. Good evening, friend. You are on Talknet.
Hello?
Yeah, welcome.
Bernard?
Yes, friend.
Yes, I'm a farmer from Minnesota.
Welcome.
And I'm trying to decide if I should keep going in this profession or not.
How long have you been farming?
Since 1969.
How old are you?
I'm 41.
And that's all you know, right?
Well, I was in the military for 2 years. I have a high school education and a vocational education and a lot of experience in mechanical.
Do you own your farm? Do you own your farm?
I have a half interest in the farm.
Heavily mortgaged?
No, we're not heavily mortgaged. I've been using on the reserves, being that I was farming in the 60s. There was pretty good times, but I can see some of the handwriting on the wall. The reserves are dwindling at a rapid rate.
What kind of farming do you do?
We have a dairy farm and raise corn, beans, alfalfa hay.
Dairy farm keeps you busy 7 days a week.
Yes, about 12 hours a day.
And suppose you wanted to switch careers. What would you do?
I think I would try to go probably into machinist or mechanic, or I like being self-employed, so
I was about to say that, you know. I had a discussion with somebody that is, let's say, independent like you. He's a taxi driver right here in New York City. And he's complaining of the fact that he's sick and tired of driving a cab. So I said, why don't you quit? He said, I've quit 10 times already, but I come back. I said, why? He says, when I drive a cab, I am my own boss. I can eat lunch when I want to. I can quit when I want to. He says, I don't like the idea of working, punching myself in on the time clock. As a farmer, you have that lifestyle too. But I'll tell you one thing, we don't treat our farmers right. Farming should be a very profitable business because we feed the world. America has no trouble feeding its own people and feeding half the world. But yet, because a farmer is so efficient, prices of farm products are low. You can hardly make a living. And then, too, when a farmer gets in trouble, nobody cares. Hello? I don't hear you.
A farmer, you go and they tell you what your price is.
I don't hear you. Something's happened to our line.
Bernard?
Yep.
I say in farming, you're not able to add on to your
No, I don't hear you. In other words, are you coming through through a satellite, or are you coming through on a telephone line?
Telephone line.
Now I can hear you.
You can hear me again, huh?
No, I don't hear you again. I tell you what. Bernadette, do you have this gentleman's number? We'll call him back. Stay put. Hang up. We'll call you back.
All right.
Thank you. Good evening, friend. You are on Talknet, and I'm Bernard Meltzer.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes, Dr. Meltzer?
Hiya.
Hi. Our son borrowed a car and had an accident with that other person's car.
Right.
We're trying to figure out to what extent we might be liable for our son, who is a minor, for the damages caused.
Wait a while. Your son is how old?
He is 16.
He had no license.
No.
He was driving. Was he running an errand for you?
No, he borrowed a car. He was not running.
You had nothing to do with it?
No.
You didn't tell him to borrow the car?
No, we were not aware that he was doing this.
So why are you responsible?
Well, we thought, according to the state code, parents might be liable for up to $1,000 for the damages caused by a minor.
Yeah, that of course takes precedent over what I told you. But Beyond that, you're not liable. In other words, if you have a state code that says that, then of course you can be liable up to $1,000. But beyond that, let's say that did not exist. The only time you will be liable if your son was doing something for you when he got into the accident.
All right, and in this case, he was not doing that. We did not authorize.
Therefore, you are free and clear.
We are.
Except for that, what you just told me.
In the situation, I think the car was borrowed from an 18-year-old, and it was not in his name. It was owned by a parent.
Therefore, the lawsuit would be against your son and the parent and the fellow driving. Your son was driving, pardon me. Two people would be named in a lawsuit. Your son as a matter of course, and the parent because they have assets and probably have insurance. Am I correct?
I see. I'm trying to see if I follow you. Are you saying that the other party, the parent of the
No, who would be named the owner of the car,
is an adult?
He would be named.
I see.
And the one driving would be named.
I see.
Okay?
Yes.
You would not be.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Feel better?
Yes.
I'm Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet. Love can be found in a soft moonlight glow. Love can be found in the sweet song of the bird and in the silence of the forest deep. Love can be found in the snow-filled quiet of a winter night. Love can be found in the brilliance of the morning sunrise. Love can be found everywhere and any time, in any place where you give of your heart and you say, with love, I care. Good evening, friend. Welcome to Talknet.
Hello.
Yes, friend.
I've got just a little bit of a problem.
What's that?
We've been banking at the same bank ever since we were married, which would be like 14, 15 years.
Right.
We've never borrowed money from any place other than this bank.
Right.
We've never had a credit card or anything. We've always, whenever we've needed something or wanted something, we've just went to this bank.
Right.
Well, here about 6-8 months ago, this bank went broke, and they affiliated with another one.
Right.
And we've, as far as, we knew that we thought we always had really good credit.
Right.
We had, for about the last 4 years, we had a large note due there, and it was like, our payments were $218 a month. My husband thought that they were $200, so we were always paying him $200 a month. Well, we went in here a couple weeks ago to borrow money, and they said that they didn't know if they should loan us any money because they didn't think that we were paying our payments on time. Well, then we'd never gotten any kind of a late notice or anything. And then about a week later, all of a sudden we get this notice that said that we were $50 behind because of this $18 that we hadn't been, paying all the time. And so we went in the next day and paid that. Well, we went elsewhere to see about getting a loan. And the first place that we went, they said that they would not give any reference or anything over the phone, that we had to sign a paper, for this place to show that our credit. Well, they went ahead and we signed the papers, and they sent them over there, and our credit was approved. Nothing, no problem. We went someplace else to borrow money because we decided that we didn't want to get that particular item that we were going to look at. We wanted something that was a little bit different. Well, we went through another finance place, and they said, well, within an hour we'll know about your credit. And within an hour they come back and said, well, they're not sure about loaning us the money because they said that we were a little bit slow in our payments.
Right.
Is there any way that we can correct,
Well, first of all, you have to find out what's wrong, which you haven't found yet. And the way you find out what's wrong is federal law says that when you are turned down for a loan, you must be in writing. If you were requested in writing, it must be a copy of the report which was used as the basis of the turn down. And now you do that, and for the first time you'll now know what's wrong. Are they reporting you as a slow payer?
I think so.
Or are they reporting you or something else is wrong? Sometimes the reason why you get turned down is an error. They have the wrong person, the wrong numbers, and the wrong everything. But if they are reporting you as a slow payer, technically they are correct. There's nothing you can do. If the bank wants to play hardball that way, I guess there's really nothing you can do except, you see, the fact that you had to pay $218 a month, and you were only paying $200, there's no defense to say we didn't know. Of course, morally you are correct. Legally, you're not. So I say to you right now, what you should do is go back to the bank and say, hey, would you please remove from our credit report this business that we were a slow payer? And you do that by talking to one of the senior officers of the bank and explain and see what happens. And I'll tell you what else you do. Let's say they still put their nose up in the air and say, we won't change the credit report. Because the people that make up the credit report will not change unless the bank itself tells them to do it. The way I found is very effective, and try it, is take the bank into small claims court and sue them for the limit. What's the limit of small claims court in your area? 1,000?
I'm not sure about that.
Let's say it's 1,000 or 1,500. File a lawsuit against the bank, and you do it yourself. You don't need an attorney. And very often when you do that, the bank straightens out because they don't want to be possibly face a court that may bring an award against them. And then, too, very often it gets to their attorney, and their attorney says, look, this is no reason why we should be in court. So I say, get a copy of the credit report, find out what's wrong, ask the bank to remove it if you what you tell me. If not, don't be scared of them. Take them to small claims court.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. This is a reverent thought to guide your life. Your faith in many ways can be compared to a wheelbarrow because you have to put some real push behind it to make it worth. Good evening, my friend. You are on Talknet. Good evening. Welcome.
Thank you. I have a question concerning an insurance company problem that I have.
What's that?
Well, I worked for a large corporation, and while working there, my wife became pregnant with our second child.
Right.
I left the company and called our insurance carrier in regards to taking a carryover policy. I chose to do that for 1 quarter of a year, which the baby would be delivered in that quarter, and the policy cost $400.
Right.
The child was born back in April of last year. The bill came to $2,600 for my wife and the child.
Right.
Then I went through all kinds of rigmarole trying to get some type of reimbursement for the bill. And just this week, I found out from them the reason that I wasn't getting any more money from them is that all they were paying was $500. That's the max they were paying, because the hospital we went to was what they called a non-member hospital. Apparently, if I had gone to a hospital that was a member of this company's insurance coverage, they would have paid the whole thing. But because the hospital I went to was a non-member, didn't affiliate with this insurance company.
And of course, you told them we know nothing about it.
I said, you didn't tell me that when I signed up for the policy. The hospital didn't bring that to my attention. So they paid $500 for my wife and $130 for the baby. $630 they paid,
now,
and it cost me $400 for the policy.
Now, what have you done?
Now I've got a bill from the hospital for $2,300 balance, and they told me, I need to pay it.
All right, there are two things you can do. Number one, you can fight them based upon the fact that they didn't tell you, but of course, normally I'll give you the answer. That's not a defense, because there is a published list somewhere around that gives you the member hospitals that are part of the group. The fact that you didn't know is not a defense. But on the other hand, you can still use it as a defense. If you want to fight it, but it'll cost you money.
Yeah, the company is headquartered out of state from where I live, and so do I have to fight them right in the state they're located? Or?
No, you can fight in the state where you're located, because to do business in your state, they have to be registered with the insurance commissioner. Therefore, they can be served in a lawsuit. But the only problem is, for you to have a lawsuit of this kind is not a small claim situation at all. This is something that goes beyond small claims court.
Because of the amount of the balance?
Yeah, and also the nature of the claim. Because you're challenging a regulation, understand?
Right.
I would say, in my opinion, I think you might stand a very good chance of overturning it. However, it will cost you almost as much money as you'll collect if you win.
Yeah, I know. I read through the contract they sent me, and nowhere in the contract does it say anything about caution. We only reimburse for member hospitals. It's not listed anywhere.
I think you'll win, as I'm trying to tell you.
And who could I contact locally?
You mean your attorney? See,
well,
in order to do business in your state, they've got to have a place where they can be served with a summons. Your attorney will find out very easily by calling the insurance commissioner.
Do you think it costs as much to pursue it as it would to pay the...
I say it will cost you at least $1,000.
Well, it's still $1,300 less than...
Try it.
Okay, very good.
Bye-bye. Good evening, friend. You are on Talknet. Welcome.
Hello?
Hello. Welcome aboard.
Yes, thank you. Your voice is real nice and soothing. I hate that I have, calling you for a problem.
What's your problem?
I'm married to a guy who from the time we've been married, which has been 2 years, I think he married me just to become a U.S. citizen.
Where's he from?
He's from Nigeria.
In other words, you married a gentleman from Nigeria, and he wanted to get from it a green card. Has he gotten his green card?
Yes. That was issued to him, I guess, this March, April.
And what makes you think that he did it because he only cared for the green card and didn't care for you?
Well, because a lot of things have been going on since we've been married, and also I found letters where he had wrote to other women in other countries, including his own, and telling them things to the effect that,
in other words, he was only marrying you for the green card.
Well, that would be degrading to him if he were to admit that to another woman. What he said was that I'm just his classmate and I'm too serious about him. And the latest letter, which happened in '86, November of '86, where he told the girl just flat out that his mother said he shouldn't be marrying any women over here, and that he didn't want to marry any of us women over here, and all kinds of other...
No, you'd better have more proof than that. But I'm saying, if you are you living together?
Yes.
And the relationship is rocky?
It's always been that way. And also, I found some other girl he tried to get married to before me. I didn't know anything about it.
I'll tell you what you do. If you feel and you're convinced and you have the proof that the marriage took place because he valued the green card more than he valued you, you notify the Immigration Service. And the law definitely says that in this kind of marriage, they will not issue a green card and not honor the relationship if the marriage was for the purpose of, let's say, securing citizenship only. That's the law, and that's what you ought to look into.
Well, he already has the green card.
Yeah, but the green card can be taken away from him. The green card is supposed to give you citizenship after 5 years. That'll be stopped with your complaint and so on.
Okay. There were other things he did. He wanted to get some of his members here to the U.S. too, and I was supposed to speak with immigration about that, and I refused.
He wanted to do what?
He wanted to bring some more of his family members here. He wanted me to do it because I'm a citizen.
Well, yeah, but you couldn't have done it anyway. It doesn't matter, sweetheart.
I couldn't have?
Nope.
Oh, really?
Not under the new law.
Oh, okay.
Thanks. A smile on your face always, by the way, adds so much to your face value. Good evening, friend. You're listening to Bernard Meltzer here on Talknet. Welcome.
Yeah, Bernard?
Yes, friend.
I have a question on home financing.
Yeah.
February of '86, I was promoted. We moved to a new area. And we've had our house for sale for a year. Actually, we listed it in December of '85. The house we have not been able to sell. It's in a depressed market.
Right.
And we're coming to the point where we're thinking about transferring the title back. It's financed through...
Well, wait till if the bank will take it.
It's Farmers Home Administration of the U.S.
Will they take it back?
Yes, they will.
And not get a judgment against you?
Well, looking at the form, unfortunately on the form it does say in lieu of foreclosure.
Well, that's all right. No, well, that's very good.
Okay.
In other words, if they take back a deed, if you give them a deed in lieu of foreclosure, as a general rule, they have no right to go for deficiency judgment.
Okay. They have told me that that will not be a problem. They look at it as leaving the area. It was work-related. My payments are up to date, taxes, everything else. As long as there's no money, as I'm current on it.
Yeah, but my good friend, I don't care what they tell you. As a general rule, if they end up, what's the house worth?
I owe $24,500. I would guess to sell it today that it would probably be the way the market is down there, probably closer to 20 in order to sell it.
So therefore, if they sell it for 20, they've lost roughly $5,000. And you better find out whether they will go after you for deficiency judgment for $5,000 or not. Again, I repeat, as a general rule, when you give a house back to a bank in lieu of foreclosure, they usually waive the deficiency judgment requirement.
The way it's been explained to me, that will not be a problem. My concern is...
No, the way I explained to you, that will be a problem. Because you're dealing with a government agency that has rules and regulations, and it says one thing: if they end up losing money, they go after you. Now, I don't know who. If the one who told you that it will not be a problem, you go right back to him and say, will you give me that in writing? And you'll find he'll crawl under the desk.
Okay. Well, second part of my question is, when we purchased a home in the new area that we moved to, and when we got to the line on the application, have you ever transferred title in lieu of foreclosure? At that time, we had not. That posed somewhat of a problem also.
No, it does. You told the truth.
Well, that's where the problems come in. Because I guess I'm concerned in the future. My job...
No. At the time you answered that question, you told the truth.
Right.
What happened a month or 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 months later has nothing to do with the fact that on a certain day when you answer that question, you were telling the truth, and you don't have to be worried about it. Thanks. Friend, I welcome you to the program that brings you human interest, drama, entertainment, and variety. Good evening, my friend. You are on Talknet. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Miss Friend?
Yeah, friend.
Friend Meltzer. I have a problem. I left the company after 20 years of service in May of 1985. They had a profit-sharing plan in which I was 100% vested.
Right.
I was told I didn't have a legal, quote, break-in service in 1985 because I had worked too many hours January through May.
All right.
Which was written in the contract.
Right.
So I had to wait until 1986 to get a legal break-in service.
Right.
Do you know the legal time until I get a check this year?
Well, there is no answer to that. It depends on the bylaws of the company as it was set up and approved by IRS. I would say you should get it within 6 months, but on the other hand, it might be they have an option of going to 2-3 years.
Yeah.
The answer is contained in the bylaws. Why don't you contact one of the trustees of this fund and ask them to give you a copy of the bylaws, or ask the question that you just asked of me, because all this is down in writing.
Yeah, well, they say I should have it this year, and
yeah, well, who's the they?
The people that are holding, that are in trustees.
Well, the only ones who know that are the trustees.
Excuse me?
The only ones who know the answer to that are the trustees.
Yeah, well, that's who I talked to.
So therefore, it ties in what I said. Usually it takes about 6 months.
They actually said that I should have it the beginning of the year, which is February. But the reason I'm pushing for is because there isn't any interest on this for until I get it from the first of the year.
Yes, but on the other hand, again, the answer to what the question you asked is not in the head of Bernard Meltzer. It's in writing, contained in a document that set this thing up and approved by IRS. Thanks. You know, it's nice to be important, but it's a lot more important to be nice. Good evening. Oh, our phone number, coast to coast, I forgot to give it you, is 1-800-223-4141. You are welcome to call. Good evening, friend.
Hello, friend.
Yes.
I have a problem, and I'd like to deal with it in as nice a manner as possible, but I really don't know how.
What's that?
My neighbor across the alley, for some reason, she, the wife, dumps her cooking grease right inside my backyard. First time I noticed it was 2 days after Christmas when she comes traipsing across the alley with the turkey roasting pan, dumps the grease in my backyard, and then takes the...
And what have you been doing now?
I haven't done anything about it. The first thing I did, I just inherited my mom's house, and I called my mom's best friend, and she said, yes, it had been going on for years, and my mother was unable to get them to stop, and that everybody in town is very afraid of these people. The reason is he is a state police officer.
My good friend, let me put it another way. The fact that he's a state police officer makes him very vulnerable to complaints. I don't know who's been telling you fairy stories, but Bernard Meltzer can tell you, having dealt with government for many years, in the year 1987, just entering a complaint against him with his superiors is enough to get him in trouble. It's the other way around. It's the other way around. Being a state policeman makes him more vulnerable than if he were an ordinary citizen. You got that?
I hear what you're saying.
Now let's go on now.
I hear what you're saying.
What you've got to do, my good friend, is you've got to have guts enough to sit down and write them a letter and say, my dear neighbor, what you're doing is illegal, improper. Please stop. Otherwise, you'll compel me to take action. Send it certified mail, return receipt requested. You must do that.
Okay.
And if you don't do that, then you can't do anything. Then, of course, if he ignores it, then you can file a complaint with the health department of your town. And also, you might even file a lawsuit against them. Because what happens now, under EPA regulations, you may want to dig up all that soil that's been contaminated, haul it away, and replace it with non-contaminated soil. That's a lot of money.
Here's where the fear comes in.
Where does the fear come in?
This person has been, say, threatened from other people that they have dealings with. And
my good friend, let's say you write that letter.
Yes.
And he gets after you after that to go to the superiors of this state policeman and file a complaint because you tried to stop an illegal act of their parties, now ticketing your car and so on. Well, knock his head off. Don't you realize how vulnerable he is? And remember, you're an American citizen. You enjoy liberty. And as Thomas Jefferson said, if you don't fight for your liberty, you'll lose it pretty soon. And you're about ready to lose it, as far as a policeman goes.
That's true.
And again, I say, the fact that he is a state trooper makes him more vulnerable than if he were an ordinary citizen. That's Bernard Meltzer interpreting the law for you and regulations in the year 1987. Thanks. In life, most of the time, the good Lord does balance things out. For example, the fellow next door may have much greener grass, but the compensation is that he has to cut the grass more often. Good evening, friend. Welcome to Talknet.
Hello, Bernard.
Yes, friend.
My girlfriend is a guardian for her mother. Now, her mother had a stroke. Now, she handles her mom's financial, personal affairs. She takes care of her mother.
Has she been appointed guardian by the court, or is just a voluntary situation?
She's legally the guardian.
Okay.
Has been for quite a few years.
Right. I'm listening.
Okay. Now, recently she's been bonded. Is that good or bad? She's concerned about this.
Probably somebody entered a complaint. But that's all part of the deal. Stop worrying about it.
Don't worry about it, huh?
Nope, don't worry about it. In other words, in the eyes of the court, they said let her be bonded because somebody said maybe she's misappropriating money. And if she's not misappropriating money, she has nothing to worry about. If she is misappropriating money, she resigns.
I see. What is bonding exactly?
Bonding, in effect, says that the bonding company guarantees to the court that if your girlfriend in any way has hanky-panky going on, is stealing or misappropriating, the bonding company will make good.
I see. Is there any way I should protect myself from this? I don't believe it's not going on.
Well, of course, how are you involved in this?
Well, I live with her.
That's nothing. That's not your problem.
I understand that.
You're not responsible, let's say, for her acts if she does something off color.
This is true.
Not unless you tell her to do it.
No, I don't.
Not unless you do it with her.
But she isn't. You see.
Not unless you take the money.
The money is set up in a trust.
No, this came about because somebody entered a complaint.
Exactly. Her mother has stepchildren.
That's right, and they're trying to say, hey, she's stealing the money.
Right. Well, she isn't.
Rest easy, my friend.
Don't worry about it, huh?
Bernard Meltzer's answer happens to be right this time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. My friend, welcome to the program that brings you human interest, entertainment, a drama, and a variety. Good evening. Are you there, friend?
You hear me?
Of course.
Good. I got a letter from a major credit card company last week,
right,
instructing me to cut my card in two.
Right.
My account has been terminated.
Right.
Return the card to them.
Right.
Reason for this drastic action, that they received a report from a local credit bureau that I have filed for bankruptcy. I have not filed for bankruptcy. I called this credit bureau up and told him that there is another gentleman in his town that must have the same name that I have.
Right. And what did they say?
They said, just a moment. I give my Social Security card number, address, phone number, and they said, well, one of my 3 accounts that I had with a local store was filed for bankruptcy. I said, I only have 1 account with that company, and I haven't charged anything in 2 years.
Well, first of all, if they filed for bankruptcy, what has it got to do with you?
Well, that's it. It's my name now is Mud throughout,
here's what you do. No, here's what you do, my good friend. Mud doesn't count. In other words, mud is mud. What you now do is you request from the credit card company or anybody or the credit card company that you be given a copy of the report that they have.
Right.
And by federal law, once you request it in writing, they must give you a copy of the report which was used as a basis for the turndown. You got that?
Right.
Now you will get that report. If that report says, in effect, information which is erroneous, you then, of course, notify the credit card company who reported it, or whoever else reported, to remove it from your credit report. If they don't, and the credit bureau refuses to remove it, file a lawsuit against them for $100,000.
Right. Well,
because they've killed your credit.
She said she was going to take action to write this credit card company and tell them.
No, forget about it. I'm saying stop kidding around.
Right.
Get a copy of it and file a lawsuit against them.
Okay, you think I should file a lawsuit?
And don't make it plenty of money.
Okay.
And you'll collect. Maybe you won't collect $100,000, but depending on what you're doing and how you can show how you've been hurt, you'll walk away with a lot of money.
Okay.
Because what they've done is an error, and they better correct it in a hurry. And I'll tell you, one of the best ways to get it corrected is to file a lawsuit.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Bye-bye. So our toll-free number is 1-800-223-4141. You are welcome to call. And let me remind you that all that is necessary for evil to triumph is for men and women of goodwill to do nothing in face of evil. Good evening, my friend. You are on Talknet. Welcome.
Brother Bernard?
Yes.
I have a question about real estate. I'd appreciate an answer.
What's that?
I sold a condominium about a year ago to a real estate broker for his personal use.
Right.
He has since defaulted on the loan.
Right.
And just returned the deed to me last week. And I find out that the furniture, it was a fully furnished with new furniture. All the furniture is gone, including the stove and the refrigerator that were new.
Now, wait a while. Why did you accept the deed? Just because he returned the deed to you?
Well,
first of all,
on the advice of my lawyer,
Yeah.
Who said that was far better for me than trying to go through a foreclosure.
Yeah, but you see, the problem involved is something that we just spoke about it a little while ago. When you accepted the deed in lieu of foreclosure, you agreed, in effect, to waive all claims you have against them for a deficiency judgment. Did you ask your lawyer that?
Yes, and we had not inspected the property at the time.
No, you didn't hear what I said. Let's start this again. We start out with a bank, usually, where you fall behind in your payments, and a person goes to the bank and says, hey, bank, if you want, I'll give you a deed, you don't have to foreclose. And what the bank does is they send an appraiser out, and they say, for example, the mortgage balance is $40,000, but the house is worth, say, $48,000. Therefore, they'll accept the deed. But when they accept the deed and they sell it for $38,000 and they lose money, they have agreed to waive getting a deficiency judgment. Now, the question I ask you, and go back to your attorney, is the understanding in writing that under which the deed was accepted that you have agreed to waive all claims against that fellow who bought your property?
That appears to be the case.
Therefore,
he says I have no legal recovery of.
So why did you take it?
Because of his advice, and he says I have no legal recourse. Well,
therefore, if you took it there, you can't go against him.
The buyer was a real estate broker, and he says I only have an ethical violation. And my question is, are there any ways that I can...
No, my good friend, I don't know. Your attorney may know law, but he doesn't know real estate to give you this advice. He may know the law that goes with real estate, but he doesn't know real estate practice. I'm telling you, the fact that it was like the call we got a little while ago about the state trooper.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he's a real estate broker makes him more vulnerable than any lay person.
Can I bring pressure against him for the ethical violation?
You could go against him and challenge his license because there's enough involved here. And no real estate broker wants to have his license challenged. But what I worry about now, and I don't know what to tell you, you have to go back to that attorney who gave you this advice, whether you've waived all rights to proceed against him.
Apparently so in a legal way, but all that's left is the ethics.
No. I don't believe it, my friend. Mm-hmm. Please forgive my doubting, but you're telling me things I don't believe.
All right.
And how do I know it? I've been messing around with problems like this for 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
I taught the subject and many other subjects. I've written. I've done a lot of in this field, and I think I know what I'm talking about. I've been a mortgage officer. I've been a bank officer.
Would you suggest I see another attorney?
No, you go back to your attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And you say you gave me advice to accept the deed in lieu of foreclosure. What did I give up?
I see.
Thanks. Good evening, my friend. Welcome to the program that solves problems with head and heart. Welcome. You are on Talknet.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hi. I need to know if about incorporating a business, or to get incorporated. Is it better to go to an attorney and pay the fee and have him draw it up, or is it something that you can do at your courthouse or do yourself?
You can get yourself a kit and do it yourself if you want to.
Uh-huh.
But also you can get yourself a kit and to go through brain surgery if you want to, too.
Well,
but I'm not recommending that you be your own brain surgeon.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it'd be better to go to an attorney, but my brother kept saying that he thought it'd be better to do it, myself.
If you bargain with the attorney and the attorney concede, for example, that he may be the attorney for the corporation,
mm-hmm.
and the attorney is hungry, you can very often get this thing in most states for about $250, $300 as a minimum.
$350, they told me.
$350.
Uh-huh.
Well, of course, so I wasn't too far off.
No.
So what I'm saying to you is, yes, get yourself an attorney.
Okay.
Thanks.
I sure appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Good evening. Welcome to Talknet, my friend.
Hi, Dr. Meltzer.
Yep.
It's a pleasure to talk to you. I have a question about about whether or not I should cancel this insurance policy that I bought on my car.
Your insurance policy?
Okay.
Why do you want to cancel it?
It's a service vehicle contract that is for 5 years or 75,000 miles. And I just don't know if I should. I have a 60-day cancellation privilege, and I'm thinking if I took that $400 and invested it and paid any claims out of that, then at the end I might end up doing better.
You're too smart. You know that? Because if you want to talk this way, I'll tell you one thing. Probably any policy that you bought, I would say, of the $400 you paid, about $100 went to the dealer that sold you the car.
He was asking $600 for it. But
No, wait a while. Listen to me. That's about $100 went to $120, $150 went to the dealer that sold you the car. That's his commission for selling you the policy. The next thing is the insurance company involved, of all the money it receives, pays out probably less than 50%. So therefore, now we're down to $300 minus $150. Therefore, in effect, you paid $400 to get $150 of protection.
Oh, wow.
But keep in mind, too, sometimes you get one big bill. But as a general rule, the kind of policy that you bought doesn't pay off very much in the way of dollars and cents.
So what I should probably do is exercise my cancellation privilege?
Do you get the money back?
Yeah, all of it.
All of it?
Yeah.
Well, of course, I don't want to tell you to exercise it because the next day your motor may go.
Well, I'm still covered for 12,000 miles under the standard contract.
And there's one other thing. In these type of policies, very often, and again, I open up my book of life experience. When you've got something wrong with a car, that's the very thing that they don't pay off on. That's been my experience.
Beautiful. You told me what I wanted to hear.
But I'm not saying cancel it. I've just given you information from what I know.
Yeah.
You make the decision.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye. My friend, let me tell you that real thinking takes place when your mouth stays shut, but your brain does all the talking. Are you there? Good evening. You are on Talknet.
Good evening, Dr. Meltzer.
Yes, friend.
It's a privilege to have your voice. I wonder if you can answer a question for me.
Sure.
To what extent is a bank responsible for misinformation that an employee gave me that cost me a lot of money?
You better give me the facts before I answer that.
I presently own a manufactured home. I live in a park where we do not own the land. We lease the land, but we own the house.
You rent the land. You don't lease it. You rent it.
Rent it, right.
Because they can throw you off there. What kind of lease have you got? A 1-year lease?
No, for
month to month?
It's from year to year. They renew it automatically.
Right.
But the problem is this. We wanted to build a home, and they advertised in the paper, all the banks, home equity loans. So I applied at a local bank for a loan for $60,000.
Right.
And most banks will not lend you money if you do not own the ground.
That's logical.
Yes, I told this loan officer that, and he assured me that they would, that it didn't matter. So he went through all the necessary papers. They had a...
you talk about a loan officer? You talk about a loan officer working for the bank?
Right.
Go ahead.
So they had an appraisal made. He came to my home. They had a credit report on me, and he said it was excellent. And it took about 4 weeks. And I kept asking him, are you certain that I'm going to get the money? And he said he was positive because the appraisal went through and everything was in good order. When it was time for me to get the money, I didn't get it, and I kept calling him, and he wouldn't return my calls.
Right.
So in desperation, I went in to see him, and they said he was out. So finally I learned that he had made a mistake and that they could not loan us the money.
Right.
So I was quite upset about it because I had already committed myself to a contractor and had blueprints drawn up and had arranged to build this home. So I went in to ask I went into the bank to ask to see the main loan officer over everybody. And he was very sympathetic, and he said he was sorry this mistake was made. And I said, well, since it is the bank's fault, I feel that you should help me out in this crisis.
And what did they say?
And I wanted him to loan me the money.
And what did they say?
He said that he sympathized with me and he just couldn't do it, but what he would do was loan me $15,000 on the new lot that we had paid for.
All right, listen to Bernard Meltzer's answer now, okay?
Yes.
The bank is, in this case that you described, the bank is responsible for the mistake of the employee, and you are entitled to get the money back on everything you lost because of this misinformation. You understand what I just said?
I understand.
You have to sit down and figure out what money you lost because of this misinformation and go see an attorney and get after the bank. That's the answer in that one. Thanks. B is a nice way to be, and because it's a never-ending job, let me tell you why. It's well to remember that a happy person is literally reborn happy every morning. I'm Bernard Meltzer, and this is Talknet. Here's my answer. Remember this, age is really a quality of the mind. There are people aged 20 who are old because their ambition fires the dead and anything new is taboo. But there are people of 70 and 80 and even beyond who dream, who inspire. These people really are not old because age, as I said before, is really a quality of the mind. So if you have left your dreams behind, if your ambition fires are dead, if hope is cold, if you no longer look ahead, if the spark of inspiration is gone, then you are old, no matter what be your age. But if in life you give the best, and if in life you still keep the jest, if you start each day with eager anticipation and end the day with pleasant memories, if love you hold, if love you give, it matters not how many birthdays have passed by, you are not old. For remember, as I said before, age is really a quality of the mind. Good evening, my friend. You are on Talknet, and I'm Bernard Meltzer. Welcome.
Hello, Dr. Meltzer.
Yes, friend.
It's a pleasure to talk to you in person.
Thank you.
We have a little small problem.
What's that?
My daughter has seen the doctor back in 1985 in December.
Right.
And we owe $30, and she has only been here in town for about a year, and she was gone by January 1st of 1986.
Right.
And my wife asked for the records to be sent to another doctor here in town. Well, the records never got to the doctor. And my wife continued to write letters and refused to pay anymore until she got the records to the doctor. Well, she never did. So my wife finally paid the rest of the bill of September of 1986.
Yeah.
And continued to write these letters, and the doctor's not paying attention to the letter that she mailed as far as getting the records back to the doctor. Well, now here just recently, she turned us over to the collecting agency, and we have proof of checks that we paid off the bill.
So what are you worried?
Well, the problem is trying to get my daughter's doctor records from her office, that is the records of 15 years of her age.
How old is your daughter? How old's your daughter?
She's 15.
Therefore, you are her legal guardian.
Yes.
And they will not, should the doctor's paid, and he will not turn over the records.
Right.
You know why?
Why?
He's afraid of a malpractice suit. Because usually when patients ask questions like that, or attorneys ask questions like that, there's a basis for a malpractice suit, or at least they are thinking of a malpractice suit. You've got that? So if you want those records from the doctor, of course, I would say take two steps. Number one, file a complaint with the county medical society. You hear that?
Uh-huh.
Number two, if necessary, go get yourself an attorney who will subpoena the records. You are entitled to those records If you don't owe the doctor anything, and of course, and the reason why the doctor ignores it, as I said, he's afraid that you have something in your mind related to a malpractice. And these days, everybody sues everybody else. And I wish you would tell the doctor it's nothing to do with a malpractice suit.
Well, we got a letter back from her that she stated that she don't have the records. She never did have them.
Who has the records?
Well, my wife went up to the office, and she took her up there to the office, and they pulled the files, and we had the files be sent to that office. And
yeah, but you don't know whether the files ever did get to that office.
No, they were there. They were there. Definitely were there.
You saw them?
My wife asked the nurse up there if they would check and see if her records are there, and they pulled the drawer open, and it was there.
In other words, your wife saw the records.
Well, she actually didn't see the records, but the nurse opened the file, and the daughter's first name was on the...
So therefore, why don't you tell the doctor that you saw the records were in his office, and you want them? And are they that important to go to court?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of, it's all the past history of the daughter after 15 years. We kind of like to have them. All were shot.
No, it's one thing. The doctor doesn't intend giving it to you, from what you tell me. The doctor may even be telling a fib that he doesn't have them. Now, the only way to get them now is for the attorney to go into court and swear out a subpoena against the doctor for the records. If the doctor doesn't produce the records, the attorney holds them into court under oath to find out what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But that better be, it'll cost you money, and you better want the records for an important reason. Thanks.
Thank you.
Welcome to the program, my friend, that solves problems for you with both head and also with heart. Good evening, my friend. Oh, let's tell you about our phone number. I forgot to give it to you. 1-800-223-4141. And I remind you, by the way, that is toll-free. Good evening.
Good evening. Bernard?
Yes.
We called you a couple months ago regarding our son. He had been arrested on a false arrest for harassment. It was proven that he wasn't even in the area when this incident occurred, all right?
In other words, but he went into court, right?
No, he didn't go into court. You were advised to get a lawyer, and we did.
And the lawyer had the whole thing squashed?
Well, yes, he had the charges squashed.
So therefore it never came up for a hearing?
It never. Well, we went for a hearing last week, the city attorney and our lawyer and our son.
And what happened to the hearing?
Well, they talked to him, and what our lawyer said when he came out was we were suing for gross negligence. And our lawyer said that they couldn't prove that Anthony suffered any financial problems, all right, because he is a college...
Your lawyer said what? He's being sued, or you're suing for gross negligence?
We're suing them for gross negligence.
Okay.
All right. They couldn't... we can't prove that he suffered any great financial problems because he's 18, he's going to college.
Which may be true.
It is true. And
so
we're
therefore,
paying...
you're entitled to $1 compensation or something like that if you take it to court.
Well, he said maybe $300 or $400 if you took it to court.
Go ahead.
All right. Now, that's not concerning me. We gave them a figure, and they'll let us know in a couple weeks. But that part's not concerning me. The part that concerns me is that